Yo, what's going on, everybody? Xanthos Vice here, and we are finally back with some more Witch of the Holy Night. I hope you guys have a great day today. Yes, like I said, I promised I'd be back for another stream. I'll be honest, I was hoping to a bit earlier, but I'll be honest, I was just kind of tired when I woke up, and I was like, if I need the extra hours to sleep, I just need the extra hours. So it's like almost noon right now, but hey, better late than never. But anyway, where we last left off in last night's stream, we had continued the night of trying to escape that puppet, and Alka finally decided to join forces with Suzuki in order to create a plan to actually beat it, in which basically we make the entire tower cave in on it by causing a chain reaction with the pillars. And I mean, to be fair, it was a decent plan in theory, considering it was always just a backup plan to use for Suzuki in the worst case scenario. But, I mean, to be fair, I'm kind of surprised Aoko kind of didn't think about two things. One, if it had an extra trump card it could have still used, and secondly, that she was the main target. But again, with everything that was going on and so many confusing things and twists and turns, I'm honestly not too surprised that it would have escaped her for a couple seconds. So, I mean, fair game, you know? And again, it's like, who knew it would have fucking sprouted like 6 legs or something? Like, god damn, that thing was relentless. But at the end of the day, we were able to outsmart it and actually make it out of the House of Mirrors alive, only for now for us to deal with the real boss. Now we have to deal with Alice, and how exactly do we convince her? Because it's like, for Alko, yeah, it seems appropriate that she'd like do him a favor, considering he saved her life at the final second. But yeah, how do we stop Alice from trying to do the job? Because I mean, to be fair, again, this is a mage problem. It isn't just a personal problem. It's a bigger picture kind of problem. Like, we all know Suzuki is like a tattletale or anything, or a snitch. But at the same time, it's just that she's a stickler for the rules. So it's like, how do we get her to stop? I don't know how far we'll get to this. I hope this part isn't as long as the last part was, but I mean, to be fair, combined it would have been like, what, just 3-4 hours, which isn't too bad. That's like a PGR stream, basically. And yeah, and regarding PGR, I don't know if I'll stream today or not later, because I do want to go to the gym. I don't know what our plans are for lunch today, so I'm going to have to figure that out, and depending on how all that goes down, I might not be able to give the amount of time that I would want to for it, but we'll see. I don't know. I just felt at the very least I did deserve to give a much longer stream of Witch on the Holy Night. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead to Night of the Witches Part 2. The melody stirred an emotion with like nostalgia within them. Something once familiar but now lost to this world. They believed, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they would play for all eternity. From opening stanza to final coda, it was a mysterious siren song, merry yet longing, that heralded a return from dreams to reality. The night shook. Okay, I was like, why is the title still there? But okay, that actually makes sense. A song was spun. Now their lost paradise was unearthed. Abandoned dreams, forsaken idols. They all responded to the cry, the blue cat. The name of that bell was Diddle Diddle, banquet of the night. All fables made possible, all marvels made real, by the magecraft of Alice Kuonji, more magical than magic itself.
随分と身勝手ね。それはあなた一人で決めていいことだったかしら、青子。
I see. So basically, that little ornament is what creates like the center of this little story that she can spin. I guess it makes sense, right? It's kind of like how people can pull something from a book this is kind of akin to it, but it's like trapping them in like a little world cast by that relic or artifact or whatever you would call it. Yeah, I like how unique this magecraft is compared to at least what I know of from Fate. It's a very unique way of doing it. Alice sat perched atop the clock tower like a blackbird of ill omen. She smoothed the ruffles of her skirt as if she were preening.
Alice.
There was tension in Alco's voice as she lifted her head. The calm atmosphere from a moment prior had long since been shooed away by Alice's gaze.
あの子、確か。
Sojiro searched his hazy memory. He couldn't clearly make out her face at this distance, but he was sure he'd seen her around town a number of times. Where and when eluded him. However, the tension of the air kept him from connecting all the dots.
驚いた。随分と仲間思いになったのね、アリス。今夜は私に任せるんじゃなかったっけ？
She readied her guard and took half a step forward, unconsciously. From an objective standpoint, it almost looked as though she were protecting the figure beside her. As the silence grew even heavier, her eyes fixed on the ground below her were devoid of emotion. An indescribable sense of dread and pressure laid claim over the plaza.
金
Oh yeah, I actually can't hear the bell. If he strained his ears, he could make out the faint ringing of a bell echoing in the distance. The rippling sound waves seemed unbelievably to be emanating from under the ground.
なあ、青崎。あの子。
黙ってて。
He stepped back, trying to stay out of the way, as though he'd been told to go to hell, for the crime of asking if the girl was Alco's friend.
そうね。仲間思いに当てはまるかは微妙だけど。よ、別に。あなたの仕事を疑ったわけじゃないわ。それはどうも。どうせならもう少し早くその良くない予感とやらに気づいてほしかったけど。でもま、ご覧の通り自己解決したわ。夜も遅いし、さっさと帰っていいわよ、アリス。私の仕事っぷりを疑うわけじゃないんでしょ？
Their eyes locked on one another, as the stare was uncomfortably cold. Alco's was bold, daring Alice to air her complaints.
いえ、気が変わったわ。
Give me a sec, I'll be right back.
せっかくだし二人で帰りましょう。その方があなたらしいわ。帰りしな、人形の話でも聞かせてちょうだい。は、らしいって何よ、らしいって。いいから帰れ帰れ、ぐうたらアリス。部屋に閉じこもって役に立たないムクドリでも作ってろっての。
A disappointed sigh escaped Alice's delicate lips. It seems that the black-clad girl was more astonished than angry.
青子、口にしたくないけど、本気？
Quietly, Alice questioned a roommate of nearly 2 years.
呆れた。二人で秘密を守ると言ったのに。まだ半端にそっち側なの？それとも情でも移った？ 別に情っていうより私の気分。だいたい方針なんてその場その場で変わるもんでしょ。気分ならなおさらよ。そっちこそ一度した約束は絶対守るなんて時代遅れなんじゃない？
The proverbial knives were out now. No quarter was given nor taken. Sadly, their partnership was one of convenience. It hadn't reached a level of mutual understanding. Their version of friendship was both delicate and unique. When a conflict of opinion arose, each will refuse to budge until the other crumbled. He was concerned for the other's plight. At least for now, that was how they liked it.
そうね。今の暴言はあなたらしいとは思うけど。言い争いは後にしましょう。そこの彼をいなかったことにするのは私だけで十分だし。
I said to yo, hello Mause, V Gates, hello, guten Tag. Yeah, thanks for showing up to the stream, Mause. Hope you have a good day. I think I saw you. You were streaming every day or two ago. At least an extra one, because I did show up to one stream sometime this week, but I think you had another one. It's like, unfortunately, I didn't have time to check because I was just busy with work. Finally, she struck straight to the point. Is it moving to move? Is it making to move a chess piece? As if there's under finger. What the hell is a fork?
Hmm?
Where was she able to do this? And a fork. Why do I feel like I know that from something? Because if her thing is something that has a fundamental of like a nursery rhyme, is this from one of those too? But I don't know which one it would be. Even this simple action seemed mysterious to Sojiro. The same boy who had been hunted by his classmate Aoka Aozaki and bore witness to the automata. Doing better today, thanks. And you? I'm doing fine, I guess. Kinda wish I woke up a bit earlier, but hey, you know how it is. But still, want to do more of this because last night I did a bit, but it wasn't as much as I would have wanted to. Because Voss and an animated doll. Though perhaps far beyond the realm of logic, both these things were derived from reality. As surprised as he had been, there was no need to think of them as total mysteries. However, when the thing appeared out of thin air from a seemingly unrelated gesture, he had no word for it besides mysterious. Sojiro stood motionless, captivated by this stage performer's magic trick. The girl's single finger magecraft turned into an attack directed at him. Seriously, that is impressive. Like that kind of speed? Blue light flew from the side to repel it, annihilating it without a trace.
やば。
Like immediately regretted her reflexive shot.
どういうこと？約束を曲げただけじゃなく、ルールまで破るつもり？
The already chilled midwinter air plunged below freezing. Oh boy, I definitely would not want to be between these two. That's just asking for trouble. Alice looked calm and collected on the outside, but in reality, she was sometimes even more hot-blooded than Aoka. This was especially true when it concerned her familiars. Accidentally breaking one would often result in a week of silent treatment. Oh, right, because they would have to take time to restore themselves again, right? Right. I forgot. Wait, so that counts as a familiar? Well, I mean, I guess in the concept of, like, again, if this is conjured from her nursery rhyme, it is just a tool or an extension of her main magic, so I guess. But again, someone who maliciously distorted things, Alice was prone to retaliate without warning.
あっちゃー。いつかやるとは思ったけど、ついに激鱗に触れちゃったか。
Ago sighed to herself. Even she was exasperated by her own stupidity, and she couldn't help but feel a pang of relief. She didn't intend to make any excuses, and she had no regrets. Thanks for joining my stream last night. Yeah, no problem. I was on my break, and or actually, this was before I saw you were already streaming. I was like, you know what? I'll hop in. I haven't really been to Miles' stream, so it's like I figured it's a good opportunity to check it out. It's cool again to see you just chill with your community for a bit, because it doesn't always have to be like just you in like a game or something automatically to do stuff. So I respect it. Wish I could be more forthgoing, but unfortunately, I don't really have much like topics to like talk about, so it'd be kind of weird and a huge void of silence. So it's nice to see that it's kind of different depending on which community it is. She had broken the rules, and so had Alice.
青子なんていうか
If anything, this took a load off her mind. After all, now there was no going back. Alko never intended to break her own rules. If there was anything for Alko to regret, it was putting too little power into her shot.
私的に今夜こいつに死なれるのは困るのよ。なんで日を改めて殺しに来てくれないアリス。いいでしょ、たった1日ぐらい。
To Alko, it was simply natural to take on a pro bono case in defense of an innocent suspect.
それは市場悪い一宿一般の恩義って割と大事にしてるの私との協定よりええ時と場合によっては
Sojour's human rights had not yet entered the argument. The girls are too busy pouring oil on each other's flame. Ooh. The girl clad in black was the first to move, or rather to erupt.
そうよくわかったわ青子私は彼をここで殺すあなたは彼をここだけ生かすつまり私と戦うということでいいそんなのいいわけないじゃない
Alko bit back to retort. She was very familiar with Alice's magecraft, and knew painfully well how many mystics were hidden in Alice's tiny body. The odds of victory were essentially non-existent. Yeah, because it's like, she's like, not only a pro, she's a true vet at this, so... Alko's literally just beginning. Once the first shot had been fired, Alice Kuonji was without mercy, never facing a roommate or a friend, a beloved family member or a stranger. Once Alice began to fight as a witch, she became a heartless, unflappable monster. Alko advanced another half-step forward as if to encourage herself. It was too late to back down now. The situation was no longer a trivial quarrel over a witness. The bedrock of their so-called friendship had nothing to do with their individual abilities, and everything to do with being equals in will. That is why, in order to stay true to herself, Alko had no room for compromise or deception.
もちろんあんたを殺すことになってもそこのバカは生かしきるわそれに
Magic circuits housed as they kicked into gear. I'm doing clips, so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Her body, which had mostly been dormant during the battle with the puppet, ignited, preparing to demonstrate its true worth.
それにどの道最後には殺し合う仲でしょ私たち
Her courage overpowered any fear she had for her opponent. Tuning her body, her magic circuits, to become like a barrel of a gun, Alko fired a magic bullet. It was an exceedingly basic magecraft formula. There was no nature interference, no creating of wind, pouring water, nor hastening of decay. It was simply the process of converting the imaginary activity known as magical energy into something real, before releasing it as heat. Thus Alko's destructive power was equal to her supply of magical energy. The magic bullets she had used against Sojiro were among the most basic single-action magecraft that did not require an incantation. At her present ability, Alko's main mode of attack, her magic bullet, could be fired at 3 levels of power. These were at the 2nd level. This required a double-action magecraft, a casting through activation of her crest combined with a simplified incantation. I see. So a double layer. However, without blinking, Alice dispersed the shot that Alko had mustered all of her spirit to fire. She uttered in frustration. A swift sneak attack that used a simplified incantation would not be enough to break Alice's guard.
相変わらずお堅いこと。そのから一段と独りよがりになってるんじゃない？
She provoked Alice in order to disguise her own lack of composure. Somehow, Alice seemed delighted by Alko's bravado.
売り言葉に買い言葉というやつね。こういう勢いだけのきっかけは初めてだけど。驚いたわ。こんなくだらない理由でもその気になるものなのね、人間って。
Yeah, I was gonna say, did I just see a plate? What's that gonna do? Are you gonna throw him like Destructo Disc? Or Somplace? Countless utensils shot out from underneath the cobblestones paving the plaza.
しずきくん、後ろに飛んで。
I wonder what messy around this is about. She grabbed his hand as she shouted, jumping backward before he even had the chance to respond. As if they had wills of their own, the utensils that had suddenly appeared from the ground gave chase. As the barrier's spears grew around them, Alko and Sojiro put some distance between themselves and the clock tower.
え、これで終わり？
Just under 30 feet stood between them and Alice. The lethal weapons that had crumbled the stone beneath them fell short of what Alko had anticipated. I kind of like how it's appearing. It coming out of the ground kind of reminds me of a Jeanne d'Arc Alter's Grandement de Haine level phantasm. Because that's when like a whole bunch of spears would like come from under the ground and then a whole like wave of fire would come out too. It now encircled the clock tower, making the scene look like the burning of a witch at the stake.
普通逆じゃない。ここは私たちを逃がさないよう槍で周りを囲むものでしょ。
Maybe they tried to push her to a certain distance? That behind them was safe. If they wanted, they could try to make a break for the main gate and escape.
いいのアリス。悪いけど逃げられるなら逃げるわよ。私。
Y'all see how stupid Sojo's like? He's like, oh my god, what is this? She could just make it back to town, it would be Alko's win. All she wanted to do was let Sojo get away for the night, so she could get him back to the city it would be. For the most part, mission accomplished. Ah, great, what's that?
Huh?
Is that like a mana potion? Or so she had thought. Without even offering a glance at her targets below, Alice carefully and lovingly pulled out a bottle from her pocket.
緑のフラスコ？あれって確か。やば！とにかくファイヤー！
Damn, how is this more convenient than what I mean, if she was Unlimited Blade Works is like, that's crazy. Because she can like basically control him like almost similar to like a psychic power. Her shot was deflected with ease. Gone was Alko's earlier bravado. It was only natural. Alko had indeed grown as a mage. Over the last 2 years of study, her studies had progressed well. And she'd more or less gotten a grasp of her roommate's tendencies and abilities. This had made her conceited enough to believe that, under favorable circumstances, she'd be able to show Alice a thing or two in a fight. Alice uncorked the magical bottle. A gentle breeze caressed her cheek. Ditto Ditto fled as a new player stepped onto the stage. Oh, wait, what? From where would it enter? Sound of footsteps, a nostalgic parade approached. What's going on here? What exactly did that thing do? Whoa. emerged was a miracle that Aoko Azaki, an apprentice mage, had never witnessed. The dead came to life. The inanimate awakened. Woods were enveloped by the mist. Fire-breathing lizards lurked in the swamps. Puppets made merry at midnight. Alice Koichi's slender fingers had transfigured the entirety of the park, gently stroking the back of an elderly cat.
いいわ。ごっこ遊びをしましょう、青子。
For one night, the wasteland of dashed hopes and dreams was restored to its former glory. It was an immortal monster ready to devour reality. A dark fairy tale that once unleashed, never let its prey
逃
escape.
げられるものなら逃げてみせて。どこまで行けるかわからないけど、この夜を越えることができたのなら、あなたの勝ちにしてあげる。
The declaration marked the start of a desperate battle. The Witch of Black laughed at her friend. A musical mirth filled with affection, sadness, and innocent delight. Damn, what is this? Is this like an Alice in Wonderland kind of reversal? Think this will become her Wonderland for the night? Faded glory returned to Kitsy Land. The neon glow of innumerable lights illuminated the night. Speakers filled the air with the sound of vinyl music. Merry-go-rounds, small and large, whirled around and round. All in all, it made for a mind-bending spectacle. God damn it. It was certainly possible to power the facilities by transmuting magical energy into electricity via alchemy. That said, simply supplying the park with electricity would not have brought back to life that which was broken. The young woman did this not by mixing chemicals into a compound, but by melting down divine providence into a witch's brew. Oh, damn! So it's like an even more concentrated form of magic.
まずいわね。アリスのプロイは何個か見てきたけど、今回のは桁が違う。
And seriously, that one bottle did all of this. Scared to see if she actually can use multiple of them.
セット。
So after her anxiety, Aoko fired up the crest on her right arm. Magical circuits were mage's engine. God damn! That's what me messing up today. Then her crest was software that assisted their magecraft. For fledgling mage Aoko, this was their trump card. All she had to do was supply magical energy to her crest-based formula. It may not have been the strongest magecraft, but it was hers, proof that she was the successor to Aozaki lineage.
講師2層直流数門。
The pattern of her crest shifted to execute the formula, which then connected to her magical circuits. The process resembled trains changing rails, a puzzle involving dozens of circuits. She constructed it as swiftly as possible without sacrificing the quality of its construction. Instant magecraft cast without incantation would not be enough to reach Alice Koichi. Aoko gauged the strength of Alice's defense with her initial shots. She developed the power 5 times the next time, driving 20 tons of force into her target. Alice had the protection of the thick hanging fog and the dense barrier around her. However, this attack would be more than enough to pierce through both. If Aoko struck home, it would cave in Alice's chest and end the fight. At worst, it would at least knock Alice down from her position atop the clock tower.
そろそろいいかな。
Oh, god damn it, man. What? Do you not see this epic battle between witches at work? As always, there was one guy who spoiled the deadly tension, pulling Aoko out of killer mode. Sojo had been looking back and forth between Aoko and Alice in confusion.
それでどういう話になったんだ？
He said like he might ask for directions to this train station. Do you not feel the tension? Normally, she would have lashed out in response, but his deadly serious tone shocked, ravished, and angered her.
信じられない。慣れてきた。私。
She's like, I'm starting to regret my life choices, and maybe I should have just let him stay in the tower. I mean, the House of Mirrors. Swallowed back a sigh and returned her focus to activating her crest.
交渉は決裂。ちょっと怒らせすぎた。あの子から見れば、まあいい機会だし、 遊園地ごと私を亡き者にしようって腹ね。
ん？
私割とあの子に恨まれてるから。捕まったが最後どんな風に殺されるか想像すらできないわ。要するにあんたも私もあの子をどうにかしないと生きて帰れないってことよ。
そんなとばっちりだ。
まあそういうことになるかもね。
Such a persistent in a tone wholly inappropriate to the situation. Alkaline never glanced her from her right arm. She wasn't aiming at Sojiro, though. A little early in the day, and Alka would have been happy to do exactly that. Now her attention was focused on the girl in black atop the clock tower. What was... Did she just move the horses from the merry-go-round? Alka's mind struggled to catch up to her astonishment. She'd fired the strongest, fastest magic bullet she had the ability to conjure, and Alice blocked it. That much was to be expected, but Alice set her mind to defending herself, such an attack was child's play. But what just happened? Something Alka had never seen before leapt to Alice's defenses. Yeah, because I was like, clearly there's a reason that she actually used that energy and it lit up the whole area. Let me guess, this is her own fairy tale setting? Team of horses? Plug of locusts? No, those exist in the real world, unlike what Alka just witnessed. Normal creatures couldn't form like a spontaneous cloud of fog and then dissipate just as quickly into the night sky. Whoa. Oh my... What the... Oh, you've gotta be fucking kidding me! This is even worse than Five Nights at Freddy's, at least I would assume. I mean, I never actually played it. Impossible things moved in impossible ways. Alice wasn't even supplying them with any power source. Those things never needed power in the first place. Those broken, discarded things didn't follow the rules of mankind. Oh my god. This was an invasion of fairy tales. Compared to them, the automaton looked merciful. A ton of his puppets were products of magecraft, but even then they behaved as puppets should. These newly animated things, however, were nothing of the sort. Empty vessels became living creatures. Dummies warped into malformed beings. There was a fog so dense with magical energy it visibly spread to all corners of the park. Being with it, a monstrous welcoming party that easily numbered over 1,000. Yeah, so I figured, it literally brought the Wonderland to life. Now everything that's just supposed to be an attraction or just amusement has actually come to life. This is seriously crazy. Like seriously, that one fight was already kind of complex in itself. This is just mind-blowing. How the hell are we even supposed to escape this? Spurred on by the shuddering sensation running down her spine, Oko fired a barrage of single-action magic bullets. Balloons? Impulsive attacks scattered futilely. Knights of the merry-go-round soared into the sky. Green fire-breathing lizards flocked. The bakeries opened their doors once again, and human-sized loaves of fresh bread marched from their ovens as platoons of newly baked soldiers. What? Damn, this would actually be creepy in real life. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how I would feel. I'd probably be just stuck in shock. Because soldiers were completely surrounded. Ferris wheel creaked as it gently turned. A rickety train car raced about the roller coaster tracks with Kitsy, tears streaming down its face aboard. It was a grossly twisted fantasy. A girl in black reigned over the insanity-fueled park. Oh. Now we're screwed. Aga was transfixed by the scene unfolding around her, then she realized what was happening.
そうだ、これは。
Elsa once told her of monsters familiars. Among them were three of particular notoriety, one of which she recalled being capable of something similar to this. And it was called...
プロイキッシャー、フラットスナーク。
青崎、だから後ろ。
Struck by Alko's bullets, the creatures exploded into splinters. It was clear Alko's shots were becoming more powerful, but it was also the case that the beings were less robust than your average automaton.
しずきくん、こっち。
Alko turned away from the clock tower, grabbed his hand, and began to run.
青崎。
ごめん、これ無理。逃げるわよ。
逃げるってどこに。
どこって、とにかく行けるところまで。
She shouted as though trying to persuade herself as she valiantly cleared a path. Alko's magic bullets flew like a scream. Blowing away the creatures that blocked, or simply gathered around their path, she made a hole for them to escape through. Damn, that's crazy. Already in her real debut, 2 witch knights in one night. That's awesome. I really hope they actually do finish like whatever the production is doing with Witch and the Holy Knight. Again, I don't know if it's a movie or if it's an anime. I really do hope it's an anime though, because I could see this being really good, honestly. And if they actually get like UFO Table to do it, or at least a production crew's close to their level of talent, it would definitely be a hit. At least in my opinion, but I don't know. It kind of looks like more of a movie, but I didn't really check the details, so I might have to check. Because if it's a movie, I'm actually kind of curious as to how it would progress, because I don't think you can do this in like under an hour, because I don't know, I feel like there's supposed to be more going on, and we're still just kind of like at the beginning. Magical bullets exploded like blue fireworks. A good soldier ran down the bumpy brick road. Their bond, forged in the heat of battle, went far beyond mutual convenience. Headed for the park's exit at full speed without exchanging a word or a look. The weirdness only extended as far as the park border. So they'd be safe as long as they made it outside. But, the loaves of bread. Speaking in pure numbers, the difference in strength was 2 versus an army. Or rather, 1 versus an army. Soldier was hardly useful in this situation, and manpower wasn't really the issue here since they were facing puppets.
さっきの大丈夫？上からこうでっかいハサミが落ちてきたけど。
Like her shadow, she blasted away the monsters that stood in their path. There's no time to stop for breath, or even to look back.
なんとかギリギリ。
As he pursued, his voice too had naturally become shrill. 5 minutes earlier, they had broken out of the siege of the plaza surprisingly fast, seeing that the residents awakening differed case by case, with larger creatures taking additional time. I mean, it makes sense, it has to course through their whole body in order to allow them to actually move.
ラッキー、朝に弱いタイプばっかと見た。
She joked as she moved down the small fire that popped up. Then, without warning, something outrageous extended its way down from them above. Oh, I was like, what pincers are you talking about? I don't think you're talking about the fort. It's the claws of a 60-foot lobster adorning the roof of a seafood restaurant. Oh, come on! Why would you even have a seafood restaurant in an amusement park? Like, I get having seafood as like an addition, but why would you make a whole seafood restaurant there? Does it even make sense? Then again, I guess I haven't been to too many amusement parks. I've been to a Busch Gardens, I've been to Hershey Park, Six Flags, and Please to Me, but that's about it. I don't know if other ones are like that, but I haven't seen it. His pincers were like a guillotine. As like a soldier cut across the front of the restaurant, the Red King pressing at tremendous speed, keen on splitting them each in 2.
しずきくん、U ターン、こっちはダメ。
Damn. First having to run away from carbs, now you have to run away from seafood. The gate was just on the other side of the restaurant, but they had to take the long way around in order to lose the giant lobster snapping at their heels. Waiting along their detour had been a horde of monsters, which made it count.
なんとかギリギリ。
Dakota in response, recalling just how narrowly he had avoided his head being severed clean from his body.
って前うわなんだあれ焼きたてか
そうみたいね。要するに下級兵士よ。
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, Alice hasn't really done anything else yet, right? But I don't know if maybe because she's a medium of this fairy tale, she has to stay in place or she can't move about too much. Or could she also still use multiple different kinds of magic simultaneously, like what the Automata tried to do before in the House of Mirrors? That's the one thing I don't know. Because it could be she's just waiting for Alka to exhaust herself and then just eliminate her once they get there. Alka halted her sprint and set her crest into full operation.
7、6、5メートル。あの程度ならスナップだけで事足りる。
Sighted along the brick path, she brandished her right arm. She loosed the shower of magic bolts. Snap was a single action spell that favored rate of fire over power. Rode down the monsters with satisfying pops.
青崎そっちも
了解。
Blue explosions bloomed along the lamplit promenade. Alka's curtain of fire fanned out. It's a marvelous Starmine fireworks show. The toy breadman turned to charcoal.
いける。数でこそ押されてるけど、この状態が続くなら逃げ切れる。
I don't know, because, I mean, that's kind of the issue I'm realizing. Alka can only use her power on her right arm. So then, what happens if they're able to occupy, like, every direction around her, right? Like, omnidirection, right? What happens if an omnidirectional attack tries to hit them, and then what is she supposed to do? She's not faster than the speed of light, so it's not like she could just whirl around in a giant circle in an instant and block every attack. And if her shots are gonna have to get stronger, that means there's gonna be more time in between shots and casting. So I don't know if it would really last forever like she thinks.
しずきくん、そっちは。
いない空いてるここからなら入り口の東側に出られるはずだ
With magical barrage that would leave an average spellcaster blue in the face, the novice mage broke through the siege. Oh, it's a stupid blue bird again. Meanwhile, a single bird keenly watched everything unfold. Oh, right, because it's like... I also was talking to the bird, or talking to someone else through the bird, right? The one with the blue bird descended into its master's field of vision made its high-pitched call. The girl listened expressionlessly to the report.
構わないわ。予想通りよ。撃つこと、壊すことしか脳がなくても、青子の魔力の使い方は波じゃないから。急増の使い魔じゃ、まだ相手にはならないでしょう。
Robin flapped its wings as it tweeted in response. Perhaps it was criticizing Alice for complimenting Alko. Or perhaps it was jealous of Alko being praised by Alice. Alice could barely make sense of its chirping rant. Alko Ozaki was a novice mage. Until just 2 years ago, she had grown up with no background in magecraft. Compared to Alice, who was raised as a witch from birth, Alko possessed far less talent and experience. There's simply no comparison to be made. In a contest of skills in magecraft, 10 times out of 10, Alice would be declared the victor. However, that narrative changed when it came to a battle for life and death. Or life or death. Alice Kuonji was not the type of mage suited to combat, while Alka Azaki, on the other hand, was built for it. In a contest that pitted magical energy against magical energy, even Alice would concede that Alka had the upper hand. I mean, I guess that's true when you think about it, because now that I'm taking the time to think about it, Alice's magic only works when conditions are set, right? Like, when she marked the trees for the barrier, when she had already set the nursery rhyme together with the fog, and now with that green flask as well. Those are all things that have to be set up before a fight. But it's like, can she make up backup plans on the fly like that? Or will she have to have like a whole bunch already prepared? And it's like, can she just use them anytime? Or would those also have to be like certain conditions to activate them, or even to use them consecutively, one after another? Well, it's true, Alko can kind of like do it at the heat of the moment, or in a split second, considering hers is mostly physical attacking. So she can at least allow more instinct to help her in battle, whereas for Alice, it would come to her mind and planning what's next. But to be fair, if you slip up for even a second, that creates an opening. So it is kind of tough because, again, it's like Alice does have the power. Don't get me wrong. She's a very talented mage from what we've seen. But again, depending on what exactly the battle is and at what point it can reach, and depending on the conditions, I'm not sure if I can necessarily say who would win, because like I said, they're two different combat styles, but they both clearly have their own advantages and disadvantages, even if you're not accounting for the people using those abilities. Akko's manipulation of magical energy was extraordinary. The scale of her magic circuits was smaller than that of Alice, but their rotational speed, durability, and output quality, not to mention efficiency, were otherworldly. That was Akko Aozaki's hallmark. Though she had many failings when handling sophisticated formulae, in just 2 years of practice, Akko surpassed Alice in simple formulae that merely required an energy input. She also had a genius instincts and adaptability. Though Akko was not particularly proficient at executing magecraft, she was terrifyingly fast. Yeah, because that's the thing. It's what I mean by that split-second decision-making. We saw that when she was fighting the puppet before. In all those instances where people would be like, oh, I'm doomed, or I can't think of anything, she was able to come up with at least any kind of action at the very last second, multiple times. And that's tough to do when you're literally your life is on the line and any slip up would be game over. Whereas for Alice, we've seen her totally dominate, but again, she's had absolute domination in that front. So what happens if she was put at a disadvantage? What would happen? We haven't gone to that degree yet, so I'm curious how she would react. Like, if there is someone stronger than her, how would she deal with it? If she had been born outside the Aozaki clan, she would have doubtless risen to fame as a competitive sharpshooter.
でも残念ね。
In a straight shooter, Alice didn't stand a chance. Alice Koronji never bothered to learn primitive magecraft like magic bullets in the first place. She was the classic puppeteer, familiar so does her arms and legs to carry out all the particulars of a battle.
制限時間には気づいているわよね、青子。魔力はいくらでも貸してあげるけど、あなたの魔弾はあと半時で値崩れするわ。
Chirping as if in agreement, the ramen took flight. Been nearly 10 minutes since Alice had made the amusement park into her dominion. To what would the green fog give birth next? Alko and Sojiro, still running about, soon come to understand the gravity of the situation. Okay. In 10 minutes. It's gonna be like the witching hour or something?
しずきくん、正門ってこっち？
ああ、その店を曲がれば出口だ。
Running non-stop at full speed had them at their limits. The earth ragged, the duo rounded a corner at a breakneck pace. Amusement park though it was, this was still the infamous Kitsy Land. It would have taken a high school student 20 minutes to sprint the entire circumference of the park. Though they were now intimately familiar with the park's geography. Oh, you gotta be. What is that in the very back? Was that a dragon? Yeah, like, come on. We're changing beyond recognition. The transformation was not limited to the park's residents either.
青崎、
何を？
言いたくないんだけど、この遊園地広くなってないか？
It was. The problem wasn't as mundane as mistaking the location of the exits, nor the strange terrain. No. The park was warping and twisting in upon itself. Wow. Oh, I get it. Because it's an amusement park. It's literally coming to life. That's crazy. Kind of like how trees have like dryads as their spirits. Even as they ran, its structure was expanding and growing like that of a living creature. Soon the pair noticed that the mob encircling them had grown even stronger. Just to hear back to Sojiro, Alko summoned all of her effort just to keep from whining. No one blamed Sojiro for cowering in shock. But for Alko to do the same? or responsibility for causing and then dragging him into this mess. She couldn't afford to succumb to panic.
大丈夫。落ち着け私。遊園地の果てはある。遠いけど、鉄柵はちゃんと見える。フラットスナークだって制限なしってわけじゃない。外に逃げるって選択は正しいはず。現状、外までは目算で1キロぐらいだけど。
But until now, they've been too concerned with simply running. Their breathing had become labored. They had to run another mile without rest, they'd end up collapsing along the way.
青崎、体大丈夫か？
Whisper from behind pulled Alka back to reality.
大丈夫だけど、ちょっと一息入れたいわね。
賛成。ここから休みなしで外周まで走るのはやめた方がいい。
驚いた。しずきくんも外まで走ろう派とは。
ちょっとだけ建物に逃げ込むのは。
気は進まないけど、それしかないわね。
Bradman had them completely surrounded. Perhaps this might have been a problem for the average person, but for Alko, breaking through their formation to get to the building would be a cinch. The issue was...
問題は、どんな店を選ぶかってこと。
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, now that an amusement park has come to life, what are the attractions in every building? Because you could be walking into, like, the Lion's Den if you're not careful. She considered the characteristics of a transforming park. What was the danger and what was safe? The most important factor was not the strength or the complexity of the building.
そうだ。選ぶならあの単純さで正しいはず。しずきくん、あっち。
Yeah, because like the bakery's now a problem if it's making all these bread men. At the round of monsters, I could hop behind the counter, soon followed by Sojiro.
カウンターに隠れてて。
Like she was in a western shooter, Ako squared off against the monsters, using the counter as cover. Nice.
ビンゴ。ここならスナーク化しないんだ。
After assessing the currency of the enemy, Ako sat down under the counter.
あいつらは
店の周りで地団打踏んでるわ。理由があってね。あいつらはここには入ってこられないのよ。
They can't? Why not? Ako gave the perplexed Sojiro a grin and took a moment to catch her breath. She heaved a heavy sigh of relief and fatigue.
とりあえずコーヒーブレイクね。ここは遊園地の中でも遊びのない場所だから、あいつらにとっては鬼門なのよ。
I see. The magic of the night can't spread to something that isn't part of the amusement. Ah. That makes sense. Right, because there'd be no magic to put it, there's nothing fantastical about it. That's the point. Very clever. Because like I said, it's like, first you had to watch out for anything that could just come to life in there. Like it could literally just be a whole Five Nights at Freddy's scenario. Then you'd also have to make sure there's nothing that's like too complex that she wouldn't have already had time to study, like the House of Mirrors. Because that in itself could be a trap that she didn't account for.
レジスターも調理器具も最近のものだし、擬人化されたマスコットもないし、スナーク化するにはちょい文明犬すぎるってこと。
Ah, yeah. Yeah, because now that you think about it, the utensils that Alice were using to defend herself were like pretty fanciful. It wouldn't work on regular stuff because again, that wouldn't apply to the fairy tale-esque theme.
スナーク。
あいつらの名前よ。つけたのは私じゃなくてアリスなのかしらね。あの子の性格的にちょっと想像できないけど、まあとにかくそういう名前。
Perhaps now at ease from knowing they were safe, Sojiro seemed enthralled in her explanation. Aku couldn't help but chuckle as Sojiro nodded sagely. It was certain that he had no idea what she was talking about. Normally, this would have irritated her, but this time she was grateful for the warmth of his strange sobriety.
それはともかく調子良さそうだな、青崎。
Mistaking her smile for composure, Sojiro broke into a smile himself. It's just another link in a chain of misunderstandings, but there was no need to redress it.
あれ？あなたから見てもわかる？私のマダンの威力が上がっているの。
そりゃミラーハウスで散々追いかけ回されたからな。あの時と同じ動作なのに物騒さが増していれば嫌でもわかる。でもいいのか？確か数に限りがあるとか言ってただろ。もう随分撃っちまったけど20、30じゃ効かないぞ。
あんた時々あれよね。
ん？
なんでもない。私の魔弾の威力が上がっているのは単純に魔力の濃度の問題。さっきから霧がかかってるでしょ。あれ全部魔力なのよ。弾を撃つための燃料と思って。
Magical energy was divided into two broad categories. First was odd, produced inside the mage's body. Second was mana, which filled the atmosphere. Ah, okay, yeah, so it is kind of different, because I was gonna say it's like what Alice is doing is different from what from Alka's doing at a fundamental level. Because again, it's like she's powering just the magic circuits within herself for Alko, and yet Alice, she's affecting the entire area. I see, so there is something different there. I get it. So they would have their own kind of limitations. Odd obviously having to do with humans' physical ability and capability, and mana being just the type of area it is. The moment the amusement park had turned to a fairy tale land, overflowing with mana. Although it meant nothing to the average person, to a mage it was a paradise where spells could be cast as much as one pleased.
じゃあ残り魔力とやらは気にしなくていいのか。注意すべきは怪我と体力だけ。
まあ個人的な責任においてはその限りね。
Yeah. He breathed a sigh of relief. From Soldier's perspective, more so than the monsters she mowed down, Alko was the biggest bully on the playground. He'd been concerned about what would happen should her magical energy be exhausted. But lucky for him, she was far from surrendering her crown.
頼りにしてくれるのは嬉しいけど、ぬか喜びよ。あんな雑魚たち、ただ動いているだけのガラクタなんだから。
Yeah, because we're just dealing with the footmen. What about the giant creatures?
スナーク本体は当然として、アリスが他の童話の怪物を出してきたら、私じゃどうにもならない。
Yeah, because I'll be honest, if Alice summoned the London Bridge again, I don't think Alko could beat it, considering how great its defenses are, and the fact that it can regenerate too.
他の童話の怪物。遊園地をこんな風に変えたやつ以外にまだいるのか？
そう。プロイキッシャーって名付けられた、私たちでさえ目を背けたくなる反則。不可能な夢物語をも再現する時代に取り残されたデタラメよ。
Oh, I see. So kind of similar to like how it's like how we say that they're kind of like modernizing fairy tales, right? Like if you look at the Grimm fairy tales, I think they called it, the themes were much more somber and had some depressing parts, right? But as they were past the time, they ended up being softer and a bit more joyous compared to it. I see, so these would be like some of those extra details. That's like, they do exist, just people wouldn't have as much knowledge of them. At least that's what I'm assuming is kind of what she means by those akin to the ploy kickshaws.
あのね、私たちはちゃんと現代に寄り添った魔術師よ。できないこともあるし、当たり前のことだけど、近代兵器にはかなわない。20世紀、まあいろんな戦争の後押しで兵器の進化は私たちを超えちゃったから。けどあの子のは違う。どんなに人間の技術が進歩しようと関係ないって怪物なの。例えばあのブレッドマンいるでしょ。あいつには自動拳銃とか効かないわよ。多分意味が分かっていないから。アリスの使い魔は全てが空想によってこねられた神秘なの。前提からしてありえないことだから、通常の物理法則と折り合いが悪い。 空想と現実は両立しないっていうごく当たり前の理由でね。
なるほど。ブレッドマンってのはあの動く焼きたてパンのことなんだな。
He seemed to have ignored the majority of Alco's explanation and only reacted to the part that caught his curiosity.
話を戻すけど、あいつらと近代兵器の相性は最悪。ロケット弾でも効果はないわ。意思の疎通、秩序の共有ができてないから。
Ah, right. I see. I mean, that does make sense because, again, there is supposed to be a quote-unquote logic to these things, right? To, like, this magecraft and everything. So, it makes sense that modern technology can't necessarily stand up to it. It's kind of a... It's like how anything man-made can't really... Or, at least in terms of fantasy and fiction, can't reach the levels of divine power. Because anything man-made, that would just be a byproduct of something much more dwindled down from what the divine had bestowed upon humanity. And again, it's like that kind of logic that goes into technology is much more different than how it goes into magecraft. Kind of like how for vampires, unless it's sunlight or garlic or the wooden stake, like they say in the old tales, then nothing else would really affect them.
プロイキッシャーにとって彼らの世界には存在しないもの、意味がわからないものは触れることなく無産する。
Or I guess to put it in the simplest terms, you really can only fight fire with fire in this case. Because anything else just wouldn't really be equal terms with them.
彼らに通じるのは同じ神秘を帯びた魔力だけっていうデタラメぶりよ。もう完全に概念空間っていうか概念宇宙っていうか。
I guess it would also be kind of similar to like how no matter what, regular humans can never really actually see spirits or ghosts or anything like that. But if you had something akin to like mystic eyes, or there was something mystical about your energy or aura, you'd be able to at the very least perceive them. And again, this is just in terms of fantasy. There's no like real logic in saying this is just fiction, but I'm just trying to make the best comparison that I could think of to relate to this scenario.
要するにあいつらは伝承防御っていう特別なルールを持っていて、単純に強い力、強い魔術じゃ効果は薄いの。元になった童話にちなんだ欠点をつかないと倒せない。
Aha, yes, so I'm right. You can't only beat them with the weakness of their own fairy tales. Because in the end, those stories had an ending. Every villain met their fate, every hero had their end. So there is a way around it.
ギリシャ神話のアキレスあたり分かりやすい例えなんだけど、知ってる？
Yeah. It's good to use that as a comparison too, because it's kind of like the most like obvious way of like giving example to like finding a weakness from a story.
そう。無事帰れたら飛び丸あたりに教えてもらって。定番だけどいい話よ、あれ。
Yeah, if I remember, it's like every part of him. Was it that it had divine energy, or just that he was basically unaffected in any other area in his body, and only his his heel was his only weakness? He was feeling pretty lost, but he did his best to grasp the situation. He thought that ploy kickshots were scary enough to chase Alco and that puppet from before out of the house barefoot. Certainly, the scene before them was the stuff of nightmares. The soldier had a different way of thinking.
やっぱり青崎の方が怖くないか？
あんた死ぬの？
Yeah, like, do you see this girl with a gun for her hand? I don't think you can say that to her. Especially when she's the one protecting your damn life, bro. He waited in protest, silently pointing out that she had made his case for him.
あのね、今私たちを取り囲んでるのはおまけに過ぎないの。アリスにとって、
Love how we brushed
あの
that
ブレッ
aside.
ドマンもロブスターもソーセージ屋のミンチマシーンも、全部が全部私が撃ってる魔弾より価値がない。いい？あの動くマスコットたちはね、ただのおまけなの。アリスが解放した童話の怪物の一呼吸みたいなものなのよ。
呼吸って これが？
私だって考えたくないわよ。でもそれが現状。たった一体の童話の怪物だけで私たちは手一杯。そういうわけだから、アリスがあと一体でも追加したら諦めて。
追加って、これに制限はないのか？
あの子が出し惜しみしなければまだ何体かストックはあるでしょうけど、まあ成立する条件はあるわね。例えば川がないと目を覚まさない怪物もいる。この遊園地、噴水はあるけど川はないでしょ。元になった童話縛りなの、あの子の使い魔は。
Ah, so I was right. There are conditions to what she can do. It's not that she can't, but again, even she has to follow the rules of the story. I see. And again, makes sense, because if she could just summon whatever she wanted any time she wanted, then wouldn't that mean there's basically no rules for all other kinds of magic? But wow, okay. Fair enough.
童話ってかけそばとか？
ここに川がないのは不幸中の幸いね。もしあったらもっと直接制圧に向いたやつが出てきてた。
Oh, right, because they were outside at the time, the woods. I could see you completely ignoring Sojiro.
話の続きだけど、
So what are her options left?
アリスの魔術の基本はマザーグース
Oh.
って知らないか。イギリスの歌で遊び心に富んだメルヘンチックな内容よ。
Oh, yeah. I think I remember hearing of Mother Goose. I think. Let me actually check real quick. Yeah, they messed up origins of Mother Goose Nursery Rhymes explain. Right, okay.
ただそっち系のプロイキッシャーは怖くないの。みんなそれなりになんとか魔術にも落とし込める範囲だから。
聞きたくないんだけど、そっち系じゃないのは？
Yeah, like, what hasn't she used yet?
マザーグースを下地にしたとある創作童話系。あの子のお母さんが好きでね。こっち系のはどいつもこいつも尋常じゃない。私たちから見ても勘弁してって言いたくなるわ。で、この遊園地を生き返らせたのはこっち系よ。多分フラットスナークってやつだと思う。私も聞き流していたから詳しくはわからないけど。
Sutra swallowed the discomfort making its way up his throat. It really wanted to explain things a little less vaguely, but something she just necessitated further investigation.
待て青崎、あの子の話を聞き流したって、なんで？
いや、説明してもらったのは随分と前だし、あの頃はアリスの話あんまり信じられなかったのよね。
I mean, it does sound very complex yet very fantastical.
私が素人だと思って大げさに自分の魔術を語ってくれてるな、舐められてるなとか。
In truth, if anyone hadn't taken this lesson seriously, it was Alko. She would learn that lesson firsthand soon enough when she experienced just how real Alice's monsters were. She'd also discovered how heretical the monster witches truly were in the world of magecraft.
その聞き流した内容は？
何でも強力な結界を張るプロイだって。
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a bounded field for this.
アリスが受け継いだプロイは山ほどあるけど、その中でもえりすぐりの一つよ。捨てられたもの、忘れられたものを童話的に蘇らせるやつで、 今まで誰も破ったことがないとか。それでついたあだ名が触れられぬもの。
Ah. Okay, that's a cool name though. It goes hard.
フラットスナークじゃないのか？
それもあだ名。とにかく正体がわからないやつばっかりなんで、一つの個体に複数の名前が付けられるの。フラットスナークはその中でも正体不明さはトップランクのデタラメぶりよ。あなたルイス・キャロルのスナーク狩りって本知ってる？
Nope.
いや、そもそもルイ
I
ス・キ
feel
ャ
like
ロ
I've
ルと
heard
い
the
うの
name
は。
Lewis Carroll, but don't know the everything.
そっからか。ドジスン教授はそうね、
I love how we're just
特
having
殊
this
性
lined
癖を持
up
った妄想紳士ってとこ。まあこっちは別にどうでもいいか。人によっては時間の無駄だろうし。
Yes. Skip the jargon, just give us the real details.
今重要なのは彼が残した著作の方。スナーク狩りはね、スナークって呼ばれる正体不明の怪物を捕まえようと奔走する冒険家たちの話なの。
Ah.
キャロルらしい皮肉ばっちり、支離滅裂、意味不明、結末不在の本当に困った本で、一行は島で苦しみつつ最終的にはスナークを見つけるものの、見つけたベイカーは唐突に姿を消して終わってしまう。
So kind of like one of those open-ended cases where it's like, supposedly the monster does exist, but there's no one really left to tell the tale, so then how does this pass on?
よくわからないもの探しに奔走する人間の風刺なんだけど、この遊園地において誰がベイカーで何がスナークかは言うまでもないでしょ。
Right. I'll go like the not to share this, but Flat Snark had other popular names as well. The Enigmatic Island, the five-dimensional planet. Ooh, I like that one. That name goes really hard. These names are not given to it by Alice, but rather muttered by mages whom the monsters defeated. In mathematics, Snark is a term used in graph theory to refer to contradictory or impossible planar graphs. Oh, really? I hadn't learned about this in Calc. Maybe something I will learn further down the line in physics or something. A plane proven to be unable to exist in this world was given a name, apt for an ill-fated existence paradoxical in nature. Really? So that's what Snark is. I actually want to determine graph theory. Huh. The fairy tale monster ascribed this name was said to hold no form discoverable by man. Ah, okay, so it's like, it shouldn't possibly be able to exist in this realm yet. There's just a fundamental law that it's like, it just does exist. There's just no evidence of it. I could also decline to mention something else. Flat Snark was a fairy tale monster that could grow. Oh. Wait, I feel like I heard this one too, right? Like one that just grew and grew? I don't know, maybe I am mixing this up for something else, but I feel like I've heard about a fairy tale about something growing. It would hide somewhere in the amusement park, continuously exhaling magical energy until the park completely transformed into a fantasy land.
脅かしてもしょうがないし。
何か言ったか？
別に。簡単に言って童話世界の再生がフラットスナークの力なの。
That seriously is a really cool power. Like, I get that there are definitely limitations to it, but if you can set it just right, then wow. It's home field advantage to the max. Can't even imagine what you're even supposed to do against it.
この遊園地との相性は抜群でしょうね。何しろ元々が童話を元にした遊び場だから。
This has been a business district, for example. Flat Snark would have posed far less of a threat. At most, its power would be limited to projecting the shadow of a dinosaur onto the building's window panes. Ah, yeah, because again, there'd be nothing you could really do to cast on. Right. Because it needs an actual physical manifestation to actually work.
お、だからここは安全だって。ん？
You realize that something was wrong when you noticed a glutinous liquid dripping onto his back. Oh no.
あ、
He looked up to the ceiling. Their eyes met. Before he had a chance to think, Sojiro hopped up from the floor.
青崎外だ。
Taking the initiative, he jumped out from behind the counter,
バカ、何して。
trying to stop her from committing an act. She also came to her feet. Immediately, she noticed something coming to life overhead.
やば。
What the fuck is this? Oh my.
危なかった。
What even was that? The gargantuan mouth clamped shut. With no mascot to speak of, the burger joint itself began to transform. That was the burger joint? Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
もう、なんで天井にピエロの絵なんて描いてんのよ、あの店。
What? That's what was on the burger joint? Seriously, what the fuck, dude? I have to wonder, what did this guy from Kitsyland even think he was making?
普通もっと違うところに労力割かない？そんなにピエロが好きなら入り口にでも飾っとけ。
Seriously. Like, seriously, who would actually like seeing a clown just watching them from the fucking ceiling while eating their burgers? She had out her grievances as she ran. There was no safe haven left. Moment by moment, the last remnants of civilization were being eroded away by fairy tales. Well, I mean, at least this was a good reason to give a lore drop. And again, it makes sense. I want to know what that is. What is that dragon? Amusement Park had reached the final stage of snarkification. It wasn't just the mascot characters that had been granted life. Like the burger joint, even the buildings had begun to transform. The roller coaster made its way about the park, right and twisted like a giant. That's the roller coaster? Oh. Because let me guess, it had the painting of like a dragon on it, right? Oh, that is actually really cool. I would have loved to see what that transformation would look like IRL, if that would have even been possible. This is ridiculous. Truly snarkification at its finest. Uncle Sojiro stared dumbfounded by the Ferris wheel, which had grown over 250 feet in height. Right, because I was like, the Ferris wheel is powering up. Clearly something has to happen. Wait, don't tell me this is supposed to be Snark. Or I mean the monster. Words of Breadman closed in on them as if to offer tickets.
この列整理は間に合ってるっての。
As the trinkets, actual kickshaws, rampaged apart. Whenever a hole was punched in the envelopment, it was instantly filled. It was a battle of attrition with no end in sight. But that was a matter of course, as they were fairy tales about limited resources.
なんかどうしようもないぞ。こいつら増える一方だ。
スナーク本体を探して。童話の怪物には本体に当たる器物があるの。それさえ壊せば遊園地から出られるはず。
本体ってどんな？
さっき言ったでしょ。童話の怪物は現実にないものだって。今までいなかったおかしなやつとか現実じゃありえないもの。それ
おかしなやつって例えば。
だから命のある人形とか空飛ぶゴーカートとか。
She paused, her firing for a moment. After saying this out loud, she realized just how deep their grave was dug. The Arena's Park was a treasure trove of fairy tale-esque creatures on a gift. Yeah, because I was gonna say, that's too many examples! What the fuck you mean? Like, anything could be one of those. What the fuck are you trying to say here? Who could say what was impossible amidst the newly transfigured knickknacks running around?
そっか。おかしくないやつなんて一つもないんだ。
Well, no shit, Alco. Great for pointing out the obvious.
この中に紛れ込んでる。
I think it's the Ferris wheel. Hoping she was wrong, Alco bit her bottom lip. Last Snark was the type of ploy that deployed bounded fields. Seeing as it was commanding so many familiars, it wouldn't be unusual for its main body to have little, even no defenses. Furthermore, if it was modeled from a story about it being untouchable or unidentifiable, it would be logical to assume that it would collapse in on itself shortly after being discovered.
逆に言えば、見つければ私たちの勝ち。
Because again, I mean, there's nothing to protect the Ferris wheel. And everything's attacking, but it's not like it's leading us to the Ferris wheel.
そんな脆いやつが雑魚に紛れ込む。
At least
この
that's what I
隠す
would
なら
think.
森の中って言うけど、
Especially since, again, it is at the center of an amusement park. But I don't know. I guess it could also potentially be the clock? Because again, if it was any of these monsters, I don't think it would be that simple to just... They would just be roaming around attacking just so it can get beat. It's close to the truth that Alko had realized. As long as there was the slightest possibility of it being hit by one of Alko's stray bullets, it wouldn't dare appear in front of him. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Its true form was orchestrating the park from somewhere safe.
でもどこかに見えているはず。スナークは本の主題だもの。常にページのどこかにいないと主人公の資格がない。
I see. So it has to have some relevancy to like a character. But where? But very simply, the Ferris wheel was the safest location in the park as well as the symbol of its past glory. Perhaps.
あの子を捕まえるのは
Eyes open wide as a sudden suggestion. Okay, I've been trying to come up with a plan to overcome this stalemate since Sojo had been racking his brain as well. But I mean, again, that it's like you could, considering a lot of this magic is being put into this, but that's using mana, right? That's not using odd. So, again, I was thinking, can she still use her forks and knives thing while controlling the entirety of the park? His proposal was a simple one. If they couldn't find the snark, they just needed to take out its master, Alice. She hadn't moved at all from the clock tower. Even from here, they could make her figure out draped in moonlight. Yeah, because again, that's what I'm thinking, like, it could also be the clock, right?
それは一番ダメ。
She's guarding it.
アリスを殺してもフラットスナークは止まらないし、このトンデモが外に溢れ出すことになる。
Yeah, because she's the one keeping this bounded field together.
だいたい私じゃあの子を殺せないから、よくて半殺しがいいところ。
Yeah. A breadman, angered at the insults heard towards its master, moved to attack and was mercilessly burned to a crisp. Two stood back to back, catching their breath. With no plan to speak of and no route to escape, they had reached rock bottom. Meanwhile, the oddities were forming a circle around their prey, so they smelled blood in the water. They had to be dragged to a bakery for the oven, minced in the meat grinder at the butcher shop, skewered and paraded around atop a carousel. Oh my god. Walked the plank on a thorny pirate ship? After 2 years of slumber, they were eager to welcome their new guests.
一応聞いておきたいんだけど。
何？手短にね。今考え事してるから。
ああ、あの連中が何をしたいか嫌っていうほど伝わってくるんだけど、それってあの子の趣味なのかな。
その疑問はなかったわ。連中の人間嫌いは遊園地の怨念とフラットスナークの性格じゃない。基本的にまともなやついないから、アリスの使い魔って。
Being lost and forgotten to time.
ああ、でも。
Algo was unable to deny there were some similarities.
それは結構。それで青崎の考え事って止める方法考えついたのか。
期待させて悪いけどお手上げ。ま、あんたが殺されれば止まるでしょうけど。
それは嫌だ。とりあえず逃げよう。
え、しずきくん？
Wait, what does he do? She blinked in surprise at the sudden turn of events. Soju, who had until now been meekly following her lead, had grabbed Aka's hand and pulled her with him into a head-on charge of the swarm of bread. Time to break out and encircle.
意味わかんなすぎ。
I mean, to be fair, they are just bread.
なんで今の流れでそうなるのよ、あんたは。
Sorry about that. The phone was ringing. They burst through the net and ran as hard as they could. At this point, all that was left to do was what they had planned from the outset: get out of the park. Not before addressing what needed to be addressed.
なんでよ、さっきはあんなに諦めよかったのに。
ミラーハウスの時と今は違うだろ。いいから走れ。
違わないわよ。あんたを殺そうとした私も、あんたを殺したいアリスも、理由の結果も同じよ、私たち。
Though she wondered what was getting her so worked up, Ako didn't stop. She told herself that the degree of Sojour's stupidity, charging the breadman so recklessly, had caused her to lose her cool.
あのね、一緒に逃げてるぐらいで勘違いしないでくれる？言っとくけど私、明日になったらまたあんたを殺しに行くから。死にたくないってんなら、ここで私からも逃げ出したら？
それはまた今度の話だろう。だいたい青崎に殺されるのならいいけど、あの子に殺されるのは嫌だ。
だからなんで？
だって顔も知らない、話したことさえない相手だ。
It was like someone had doused water over her blazing fury. Her anger was snuffed out by the absurd simplicity of his reasoning.
顔も知らないって。
Could it be that Sojo didn't mind being killed by someone as long as he had met them? Hako grimaced as she followed him. From her spot atop the clock tower, the girl observed the growth of her familiar. Flat Snark. A savior discarded. It was a vile, vulgar fairy tale monster who provided those abandoned by fate with a glimmer of hope before snatching it away. Alice had her under control, but she was still keen to keep Snark from expressing his bad habits. At a completing a lap around the park that had now reached the size of an entire town, Robin made its situation report.
そう、外を目指しているの。
Seemed Ako was prioritizing the safety of the boy. Even if it resulted in wasting an entire day, choosing not to capitulate on the decision was very much like her.
青子のことだから、時計台ごと私を焼き払いに来るかと思ったけど。
Bluebird cheeped in response. Was it denying its master's portrait of Ako? Or agreeing that it was Ako's style to do exactly that? Outsider might interpret its interjections either way.
退屈？
Robin jumped at being addressed so unexpectedly. He chirped and flapped its wings like a flustered servant, frantic to say otherwise.
珍しく気があったわね。いいわ。せっかくのゲームだし、もう少しだけ盛り上げましょう。
Is that an egg? Calmly, she pulled out a small object from her pocket. It was a dark gray Easter egg. Emanating from inside it was the ticking of a clock. Robin knew it was a ploy kickshot with a bad attitude far exceeding Flat Snarks known to be among the best in one-on-one situations.
いってらっしゃい。称える時間は20分に設定したわ。いつも通り控えめに壊れてきて。
And together with the witch's breath, the egg filled with praise disappeared. Boy, what is it now? Suddenly, a strong wind swept through the park. The words, "I could have killed them all by myself," floated through the air. It was the disappointment of something enormous that was visible to all, yet overlooked. Ako and Soju continued their dash toward the boundary separating the park from outside. The curio horde that stood in their way had reduced in number. The iron fence that separated the two from the outside world was just over 300 yards away. Fortunately, there was no particularly large buildings barring their path. If the Ferris wheel had stood in their way, that would have spelled the end, but thankfully it had yet to reach its full strength. The only things that appeared before them were weak oddities that could easily be handled by Ako's simple magecraft.
これならなんとか。
She would have said make it to the fence, if only her lugs would allow it. As Ako was utilizing the ample magic filling the park, her tank of magical energy was nearly full. Moreover, the condition of her body circuits was steadily improving, to the extent that she would be able to unleash at least one all-out onslaught. Until something unusual was hovering above her field of vision. It was Octon Sojuro hovering 10 feet above him over to one side.
しずきくん、ちょっと。
ああ、さっきからついてきてる。
Soju seemingly noticed it before Alco, hence his previous awkward glances toward the sky. In truth, it would have been stranger for him not to notice, as the thing was practically glued to him. Queen Alice Moongrass. In terms of its size, the floating object measured about 3 feet in diameter. Tiles covered its exterior, about which a multitude of spinning lights danced about.
卵かな。
Soju asked, not really sure what to call it.
卵卵って言ったら割れる卵。
Bullets bounced off like it was made of rubber. That trait, ability to deflect all outside interference, confirmed to Alco that this thing was undoubtedly a ploy kickshaw.
やっぱり外からのルールじゃ壊れないか。しずきくん、あれから絶対に目をそらさないで。いい。何があっても見続けること。視界の隅に入れとくだけでいいから。
あ、ああ。
Was it something where it's like if he doesn't look, then it'll kill him or something? Alco picked up her pace as she barked orders. The Eggman who sounded he would crack, just as the tale spoke of. Nothing anyone could do or say would cause him to fall. The moment they stopped looking, he would tumble down and break to pieces. Oh.
いわく、王様の軍隊でも元に戻せない数の破片。
Right. It was the Mother Goose poem Humpty Dumpty, yeah. When she said that thing about the egg and cracking, I was like, ah. If Sojo was its target, then the moment he averted his gaze, it would tumble and explode. Oh.
まあ、爆発するかどうかは知らないけど。
Right, so it's like, what exactly was like the full fairy tale? Or what was the full rhyme? Either way, it was gonna scatter something troublesome when it fell. It's oval shaped, the keel adorning the front, and the writing inscribed upon it. They all made her anxious. Also, that's why it said Queen Alice. Like it said all the king's men, all the queens. If it was an egg, that man was going to hatch at some point. Even if he continued to stare, once the time came for whatever was inside to come out, even less ability to conserve their energy.
青崎、早すぎないか。あまり全力で走ると。
後のことは考えないで。いいからしずきくんは卵だけに集中して。
At this critical juncture, Breadman stepped out to join the egg and block their path.
邪魔！
The Breadmen were marching forth in a grand battalion. At her level of firepower, Anka should have easily mowed them down. However,
肩焼きかこの。
if Snap failed to do the job, that man was time for her to put her crest to use. Draw. A formally triggered bullet encased in a full wind jacket. Her previous shots were the equivalent of a machine gun volley, and this was her artillery shot. Ah, that was cool. Our crust bread that absorbed her snap without a dent scattered into thousands of tiny pieces at our draw's torrent.
うわ。
Of course, the destruction didn't end with just the Breadmen. What had once been a brick road was now thoroughly stripped of its pavement. Nearby stalls had been warped into twisted steel skeletons. It was a spectacle that made Sojo question what the greater obstacle to her escape was, the wall of Breadmen or Alka's ability to lay waste to things.
ちょっと、なんで距離取るのよそこ。そばにいないと危ないじゃない。ほら、もっとこっち。
Also, isn't he supposed to still keep looking at the egg?
言っとくけど、あんたがあいつらに囲まれちゃったらアウトよ。私、人質とか意味ないタイプだし、そもそも区別して撃つとか、そういうのできないし。
This made a lot of sense to Sojiro. He did not fully appreciate the part about hostages, but he got the gist of it.
つまり、今はどこであろうと危険なのか。
Yes.
あんたね。
It seriously took you that long to realize it, buddy. Offended though she was by his typical naive response, she couldn't help but be impressed. Sojiro was a straight arrow through and through. His eyes stayed firmly focused on the egg overhead even amidst the chaos that the melee unfolding before. Oh, okay, good. He's still keeping an eye on it.
その分なら安心か。物分かりは悪いけど、一度言われたことはきっちり守るあたり、あなたの。
そんなことより青崎、俺の気のせいならいいんだけど、さっきのパン、硬くなかったか。
まあね、あいつら少しずつ強くなってきてるわ。大量生産が軌道に乗ったんで、今度はクオリティアップをテーマにしたのかも。しずきくんでもお察しの通り、ここからは手強くなっていく一方よ。あのパンたちでさえ個体差が出てきたみたいだし。考えたくないけど、そのうちジャム塗ったりレタス乗っけたり、果ては合体したりして。
I mean, I guess it makes sense because we even saw them kind of like be emotional when Alco was kind of like calling out Alice, right? So I guess it wouldn't take too long for them to have any sense of individuality. Though she was choking, her eyes were dead serious. Such a shudder at the thought of the situation growing even more dire.
じゃあそのうちミラーハウスの人形ぐらいに怖くなるのか、あいつら。
間違いなくね。そこまでレアなパンになったら、私も自分だけで手一杯になる。ところでしずきくん、ああいうのと喧嘩できる？でしょ？なら急ぎましょう。いろいろ余裕ないんだから。
Uncle took a quick, deep breath, then began to sprint once again. From the distance through the fog, the Iron Fence waited, 300 paces away. As long as nothing happened, they would make it there in one piece. He followed after Alco, holding on to... But hope was something ever fleeting. In fact, it lasted not even 300 yards. The edge of the amusement park may well have been the edge of the world. Oh, what now? Oh my god. What the fuck now? Doesn't an undulating horizon could be seen? Why are there so many fences? Ground the sky like a giant cloud or a thick curtain, or perhaps groaning lips. It's the end of the road, the outer limit of an outrageous and fantastical realm. And yet, Aga found it to be much like the last page of an enormous picture book. The sight turned her mind blank. Well, this is about as bad as it gets, she thought. A snark, a sound of despair, had last brought Alka to her knees as she stared at the swelling border. The park indeed had an end. Even now, as Alka and Sojo had expected, a fence divided the amusement park from the residential area neighboring it. They had both doubled in height and been made sturdier. Another hurdle she had foreseen before even laying eyes on it. Expecting it to have been snarkified, Alka had come prepared to demolish an obstacle or two. But this? Its construction before went even beyond a mere wall. It was an ocean that separated the underworld from a mortal one. The iron fence was like a restless surging sea. Right, because I guess even if she did, like, try to break a hole through it, the fences could move. At least I'm assuming by the visuals. One or two walls could have easily been toppled. Even 10 or 20 could be dealt with one way or another. Seeing the power left in her body and that which filled the park, putting on a brave front was within her power. She could fully mobilize her circuits and her crest to the point of burnout and a last-ditch effort, like some reenactment of a parting at the Red Sea.
でも、それで終わり。
Yeah. Even if a pack could be opened, she wouldn't have the energy left to walk it. It was obvious what would become of her afterward. The residents would hardly forgive her for wreaking such havoc around their park. Against her drawn to honey, they would swarm the helpless girl and tear her to pieces. I am at least kind of glad that it's like, Alko's really one that she's actually really trying to think things through in all these times of trouble, right? Like, even this point of despair, it's like, even if she did do a last-ditch effort, it wouldn't necessarily really help her. Despondent and exhausted, she felt a faint stinging of remorse. Escaping the park? Looking back at how they'd gone here, Alko recognized that her choices had been her undoing. Under the golden full moon, beams of steel bent and merged like wireframe sculptures. It was only a matter of time before the amusement park itself became a colossal monster. Horde of familiars gathered the plaza where Alice was had formed an impenetrable arcade around her. Just above the head of the boy beside her, the whispering egg, called Scratch Dumpty, continued to shuffle what appeared on its surface.
青崎。
しずきくん。
The boy's voice snapped Alka out of her trance, if only for a moment. The stark reality of the situation quickly dawned on Office Mage. The sheer hopelessness of it all, as it ripped down and snatched away any will she had to resist.
ゲートに行こう。ここはどうしようもないけど、入り口ならもうちょっとマシだろ。フラットスナークだっけ。こいつにもルールがあるって言ったじゃないか。なら、これは役割の問題だ。初めから鉄柵は通れない壁だけど、ゲートなら出入り口として機能しているかもしれない。
Alka found herself honestly admiring Sojo's ability to analyze Snug's characteristics given the circumstances. Now calm, she stayed her resolve.
そうね。確かに門はあると思う。けど、たどり着くのは難しいわ。一番弱かった焼きたてパンですら、今はもうあれだもの。広場や入り口には、もっと上等なのがたむろしてるだろうし、門だって、あの観覧車以上の怪物かもしれない。確か、大きなキッツィちゃんだったでしょ。正門って。
青崎はゲートには行かないのか。
まあね。それよりこっちの方が現実的だし。
うん。
Alka took another glance at the undulated iron fences. It's too late to achieve their goal of making it out alive. In that case, she decided to prioritize the other promise she made.
今からこの鉄柵を壊すから、あなたはそこから外に出て。それで、私の役割はおしまいよ。
信じられない。こんなの青崎だけじゃ壊せないだろ。
私だけならね。でも今はこの遊園地が味方してる。燃料がこれだけあるんだから、私は重心になるだけでいいんだし、一発でかいのお見舞いしてやるわ。それでも一回が限度だから、穴を開けたらあんたには全力で走り抜けてもらうしかないけど。
She would carve a path to the science of fences, gambling on a final effort, a great incantation to launch the biggest projectile she could manage. As an outsider, Sojo couldn't even begin to imagine just how much of a burden this would be for her. All he could imagine was a hazy vision of Alka being left behind in the park. What would happen to her? Had that girl in black come to save her? Cool as it was to imagine, he knew she wouldn't. After Alka exhausted her very best in order to save him, that girl wouldn't stay her hand. The only way Alice would let Alka off the hook is if Alka killed Sojo as payment. And so...
20メートルぐらい離れてて。準備に手間取るけど、その卵の表面が茹で上がるまでには終わらせるから。
Well, without saying that this was the only path.
待ってくれ。俺を逃がすって言うけど、それに意味はあるのか、青崎。
ないけど、外に出られたところでアリスから逃げ切れるとは思えないし。
Yeah, because I was gonna say, she would still just do it later. It wouldn't be as despair-inducing as this.
けど、これぐらいは最後の意地よ。守るって言ったんだから、できるところまでやらないと。
Surprised by her seemingly moral stance, Sojiro saw Aoko in a new light. Ah, but of course. Sojiro realized she wasn't fighting for his sake, but for the sake of her pride.
そうだったな。けど、それなら俺だけ逃がすのはらしくない。
何よ。いいから離れてて。
Aoko eased off just a bit. She recalled how an hour ago he had gotten the better of her.
青崎、まだ意地を張れるんなら他のことをやろう。このお化けみたいな鉄柵を壊せるなら他に壊すべきものがあるはずだ。
ないわよ。悪いけど私は目に見えるものしか壊せないの。最後まで形のない希望にすがるとか考えるのも寒気がする。いい？今はフラットスナークなんかよりこの壁を壊してあんたを足抜けさせるのが私の現実。私に負える最大限の責任って。
逃げるのか。
Oh, he should not have said that. His words caused something inside of her to boil with rage, as though someone had set her heart on fire. Surprise that pricked open her true feelings and the disappointment she felt toward herself thawed her frozen limbs.
誰が逃げるのはそっちで逃がしてあげるのはこっちだって言うのよ。甘く見ないで。いざとなったら遊園地ごと爆破してみせるわ。
そうか。ならここで俺を逃がすのは無駄だな。その気迫は本命のために取っておこう。それまでは俺も手伝うから。
は？手伝う？それこそ無駄な気遣いよ。あったまきた。いいから逃げろバカ。だいたい走り詰めで息も絶え絶えなやつなんか使えないわよ。
そりゃいい加減ヘトヘトだけど、そういう青崎なんか疲れ以上に傷の方が傷んでるだろ。
Not to mention the injury to her back that Aoko had nearly forgotten about. Even now, she couldn't ignore the pain that the automata had inflicted on her spine. With iron will, she managed to push it out of her mind. Mostly.
ほら、魔術とか抜きにすればまだ俺の方がマシじゃないか。入り口までおぶっていくことぐらいならなんとか。
できないことは口にしないで。もういいから言って。慣れているもの、私は。でもあなたは違う。こういうの初めてでしょ。だからいいの。
The fact that they were a team. The fact that she would still have to kill him after all of this. None of the irony was lost on her as she said these words. It didn't matter anymore. Still, Sojiro didn't let go of her hand. He gripped it even harder. His expression was the same as ever. Aoko frowned, trying to figure out if he was upset with her.
確かにこういうのは初めてだ。けど山じゃ危険な目ぐらい合ってる。鹿に襲われたことだってあるんだぞ、俺は。
As a city girl, she had no idea what it meant to be attacked by a deer, but the determination was apparent enough. True. Looking back on it now, he had maintained his composure through it all. A normal person would barely be able to talk through such panic. Perhaps growing up deep in the mountains far from civilization had taught him how to stay calm in the face of so much.
だから信じてくれ。少しでいいから。
He spoke his plain, unadulterated feelings, released his hand. There was no lie in him. In fact, he was too honest, so much that she found it hard to believe him. He had no reason to go that far. As it stood, Aoko had no future. After confessing this and telling him to escape, why did he still offer to help a person like her?
わからない。どうしてそこまでするの？私に付き合えばあなたは死ぬのよ。 これが最後だからちゃんと考えてよね。あなたはここで逃げるべきよ。
それはわかるよ。でも行かない。そうすると青崎が死んでしまいそうだ。
だからどうしてそこまでするのよ、あんたは。
She was yelling out of frustration. I had to think for a moment so to reply.
そりゃ君が好きだからだろ。
Simple and to the point. His face seemed to ask why she would even question him so. There was a pause, no more than 2 seconds. His surprise attack had stopped outgrowing her tracks. I also wasn't the only one who had an ace up her sleeve. That line reached deeper than even Flat Snark could ever hope to. All Akko could respond with was an expression of pure shock. It was a simple, stubborn reason, the strongest kind on Earth. Soju Suzuki was indeed incomprehensible, to be able to work unconditionally with someone who was trying to kill him. She felt as though she'd finally grasped a sliver of his true nature. Tobimar and the other's assessment of him was correct, as vexing as it was to her to admit.
バカね。私はあなたのこと嫌いなのに。私だって逃げっぱなしは性に合わないし。いいわよ。最後まで粘ってみる。それにしずきくんが付き合ってくれるなら何かの役には立つでしょ。
Though her tone had lightened, there was no hesitation in her eyes. It was only natural. She hadn't even a clue as to how to begin to fight the Snark. If only just been a bit more skilled or trained just a bit more, there might have been some way to look for it.
我ながら情けない。せめて正体を暴く手がかりでもあればいいんだけど。
Unconsciously, she let her apprehension show. Sniveling was pointless. She just had to figure it out by herself, but...
ん？なんだ、正体さえ分かればいいのか？
え？
She gave him a look as if to ask what that was supposed to mean.
いや、だからおかしなものはどれかってことだろ。
Soju also made a face that suggested she would have brought it up sooner.
わかるのあんた。
多分。いや、結構前から気になっていたんだけど。
He whispered in her ear quietly so as not to be overheard.
あ？
It was certainly unexpected, but then again, equally obvious. Had he explained the mistake, she knew right away that he was correct. At last she had an inkling of Flat Snark's original form. Namely... Now let's see, am I gonna be right? Is it gonna be the Ferris wheel, or is it gonna be something else? Ah, damn, we don't get to hear the plan. Fine. Wait, oh, what were they even doing? They just let them wallow in despair for like 10 whole minutes. That's crazy. They started just for 10 minutes. After deliberating the Snark's true form and figuring out a plan of attack, the two exchanged nods in acceptance of their roles.
それじゃあここからは別行動ね。でもミラーハウスの時みたいなのは勘弁してよ。この作戦の肝はあなたなんだから。開始1分でドジったら本当に打つ手なしだからね。
I mean, to be fair, I guess in this case, it is kind of more that Sojiro would be the target this time, right? Because again, he's the one with the secrets, And even if he dies with Alco, it's like, well, this is just mage business and just wrap it up with that. But then again, Alco's keeping him alive, so I guess maybe she would think, why is she separating from the person she's trying to protect? Though she jabbed him for his previous failure as a decoy, her voice was bright. Original vigor had returned to her as Sojo's discovery of the truth. Meanwhile, Sojo was also getting serious in his own way. Took Alco's warning to heart.
ならいいけど、いい？さっきと立場は反対よ。失敗したら死ぬのは私じゃなくてそっち。もうフォローに回れないから、できるだけ慎重にね。
分かってる。今更ながら、やっぱりさっき逃がしてもらえばよかったと思うぐらい慎重だ。
ほんと、大バカなんだか大物なんだか。でも任せた。期待してるわ、しずき。
She had wanted to say that she believed in him, but apparently that was too embarrassing for her.
ならいいけど、いい？
Oh,
さ
wait,
っきと
what?
立場は反対よ。
Oh, shift is the reverse button. I didn't know that.
失敗。
分かってる。
Okay. I just skip this then. Anyway. Alga turned away from Sojo and began to run. She'd begun to think that maybe this change of pace was not so bad after all. And so ended the intermission. The young cast members were handed their new lines. Whatever happened next, the Night of Witches had at long last had to its climax. Please don't tell me this is the end of part 2.
別行動？あの二人が？
Okay, good. I'm hoping this ends with part 2, because if there's a part 3, then goddamn, I don't know what I'm gonna do for that one. She was fitted with foreboding at the Robin's report. Apparently they had gone in opposite directions. The park's residents had set off after the boy witness, and it would take them mere minutes to capture him, so the bird said.
どういうこと？追いかけているのは本当に彼？青子が変装しているのではなく？
Robert flapped its wings, stripping away any doubt. It seen them with its own two eyes. Alco was heading for the plaza, while the cocky brat was making a run for the roller coaster.
青子が彼を見捨てた？そんな簡単なことならいいけど、ダンプティは彼に張り付いているの？
Robin nodded enthusiastically. It didn't know about the other birds, but with its superior night vision, it seen that sucker clearly because he had moved at a high point.
ダンプティはなんて？最後まで歌わせろ。こんな褒め殺したい間抜けはまたとない。ですって。
Scratch Dumpty was a ticking time bomb that would drop and detonate the moment its target averted its gate. Ah, okay. Yeah, so that is just its primary function. Okay. That is, as long as his target continued to observe him, in a way, he was a gentlemanly employed kickshaw. Though Alice wished he would forego such niceties when in battle.
そうね。視線を切らないだけでは、ダンプティからは逃げられない。表面の詩が完成すれば扉が開く。彼がどこまで逃げようと、あと少しでダンプティが閉まってくれるわ。
Until the park, or rather the snark, was destroyed, Sojo would not be able to escape. But the larger concern was Alco. Alco had promised to protect the boy, which begged the question, where was she running to?
ここにいる限り、青子の動向はつかめない。
Alice looked out at the park, ignoring the robin's attempt to get her attention with its plumage. Flat Snark had neatly reached its full size. It was a different breed of beast compared to the other cheap ploys. To her, it was one of the three most irreplaceable and precious familiars.
そうね。任せたわスナーク。青子が諦めない以上、あなたも手は抜かないで。
Alice remained where she was. The same historical merit as the troll under the bridge and the poison-clawed reptile, Flat Snark was one of Alice's ultimate ploys. She's placing her trust in its reputation and ability.
でも忘れないで。これはゲームよ。勝敗がついたのなら、私のところに帰ってきて。
Drifting fog ignored its master's words. It was the one thing that Alice had misread. Flat Snark was a king, even among the Everploys, of terrible vulgar acts, or antics. Death to the defeated, gruesome tragedy to the vanquished. I found no pleasure unless it brought about dramatic ruination of life and wealth. The fog billowed like wicked laughter. After all, only a king had the right to decide the fate of the vanquished, and the Snark's greed could not be contained. Thus, it hadn't even the slightest intent to play fair, despite its master's orders. Over 100 feet high. One careful step at a time, the figure made its way gingerly up the track, which stretched into the heart of the amusement park. He stayed his beating chest and the pounding of his breath. Even tiny movements were an obstacle to his progress. Amazingly, the one making this pale-face advance higher and higher was Sojiro Suzuki. Far below, he saw the horde of bread creatures that congregated by the roller coaster platform. As they bustled this way and that, their numbers continued to increase by the minute, seemingly cheering on Sojiro, who raised arms as he made his ascent. Or rather, they jeered as if beckoning him to come down.
助かった。あれ、高いところは苦手なんだ。
Of course, neither did Sojiro, but his current state was the lesser of two evils. The only thing that followed him now was the floating egg. After heaving a huge sigh, Sojiro bent forward a bit and climbed the track that inclined toward the heavens. 150 feet now. If this were a skyscraper, he would be on the 16th floor. A strong gust of wind whipped through his hair. Humans had an instinctual fear of heights. In particular, a place like this, which called forth visions of falling to one's death, would cause a person's knees to tremble against their will. It was the instinct that forewarned death, urging its master to return to the safety of the ground. It was a reasonable reaction. Climbing the roller coaster tracks went beyond funny stories and entered the realm of fantasy. Strong winds and changing the air pressure were a hindrance. His instincts screamed at him to stop, causing his limbs to go numb, his muscles to go limp, and his mind to race. Even if he had been tied to a lifeline, a mere 15 feet of climbing would still have caused his thoughts to freeze out of sheer terror. And it will only get worse from here, exponentially so. Every foot forward increased the load on both his mind and his body by another degree.
よし、頂上まであと少し。
The burden on his mind notwithstanding, he carefully measured the toll on his body with every step. His legs, which had carried him running this far, threatened to buckle the moment he let down his guard. His fatigue was likely why Aoko had stressed that Sojiro's role was more dangerous than hers.
待てよ。逆を言うと、疲れてなければなんとかなると思ってたんだよな、青崎は。
Sorry, needed to drink some water. Sojiro laughed as he stared at the floating egg. He reflected on the course of events that led to this absurd situation. Not even 10 minutes ago, they'd been engaged in conversation.
じゃあ次ね。正体が分かった以
Okay,
上、
here we go.
あとはどう壊すかを話し合いましょう。
He felt a shudder travel down his spine as at Aoko's smug grin. In hindsight, Aoko had been more than happy at this point to make him do something absurd.
どう壊すかって、それなら。
He wondered aloud from what he'd seen. Aoko had enough firepower to tear clean through the fence. He'd refrained from speculating about Flat Snark's true form because he felt there was nothing they could do about it, even if they knew. That had changed. For Aoko, the impossible was quite literally within her grasp.
そうでもないわ。私の目算だと、あと50メートル分、ギリギリで届かない。
Yeah, because I mean, if it's that important, and it doesn't really have any defenses, you can't really leave it by itself. Despair filled Sojiro's eyes. Aoko lifted a hand at her long hair and with a magically charged fingertip, clipped a clean tuft of it.
足りない分は努力と根性ってね。あなたはできるだけ高いところまで逃げて。頃合いを見て合図を出すから。そうしたらこれを空に放ってくれる？
But based on where Aoko pointed her gaze, she didn't really mean to leave it up to Sojiro to pick the highest place he could find. She was staying conspicuously at one of the amusement park's two main attractions, the roller coaster.
つまり青崎とは別行動をとってあの怪物たちに追われながら高いところに逃げ込めと。
そういうこと。ほら、あのうねうね動き出してるコースターのレールとかよくない？
There were two demons in this park. Her smile made even Sojiro want to respond that it was far from perfect.
疑いたくはないんだが、本当はあの子とグルで俺を遠回しに殺そうとしてるんじゃないか。
あら、私に殺されるのならいいんでしょ？
人の出現を悪用するのは良くないと思う。
I mean, you did say it, dude. He hung his head. This was insane. If he did as she said, he would die from exhaustion before Kitsy even had a chance to eat him.
私だって鬼じゃないわ。ほら、こっち向いて。おまじないかけてあげる。
There's the lightest of touches, close enough for their breath and skin to come into contact.
Oh.
Finished with a hushed voice. One of them, this was a rather mundane magecraft, but the other was a head-spinning intimate ambush.
軽く、弱く、うまく、早く。チクタクチクタク。急げや急げ。
Words that couldn't be produced by a normal larynx, carrying a peculiar weight to them, reverberated against his eardrums. If words were given color, they would have been the color of her name, blue. His exhausted body and burning blood gently cooled.
飛ぶ、泳ぐ、駆け抜ける。チクタクチクタク、汽笛を鳴らせ。星はいつでも北の空。どこまでも、いつまで。
In reality, it took but a few seconds. The second contact, it felt a little longer.
よし、暗示成功。成功したはず。ここまで手応えがあったの初めてだし、アリスの小言もたまには役に立つじゃない。
Very Mary Alko stood aside a very confused Sojiro. After he asked what the heck had occurred, she responded.
簡単な暗示よ。一時的に恐怖心を消しておいたから、高いところに登っても平気なはず。あの手の作業で一番足を引っ張るのは同様でしょ。恐怖も何も感じなければ、地上何メートルだろうと平均台とそう変わらないってわけ。
Ah, I see. So now it's just mind against body as opposed to just both trying to refuse him. I see. Because I was gonna say, I think anyone would be scared to actually just walk up a roller coaster. Even if there were like stairs on the side of it, for like those who do maintenance on it, it's like, that'd still be scary as hell. He seemed to get it. Actually, all sounded like greet the Sojiro, but he accepted it as an explanation from her strange reaction, or for her strange actions.
やっと着いた。
So, is what he's holding, is that supposed to be like a target that she's supposed to aim at? Or that it's gonna home in on it, right? Like, it's gonna hone into an energy signal, and because of that, it would actually continue to do it, and she wouldn't be able to miss? Or, I'm kind of trying to figure out what she's planning. To arrive at the summit of the track, from nearly 200 feet high, Sojiro had a bird's eye view of the entire amusement park. He was able to spot Aoko's figure right away. In a plaza not so far from here, she seemed to be occupied with something conspicuous. Her surroundings lay still. Breadmen were still busy trying to figure out how to reach Sojiro by trial and error for the roller coaster's entrance. They're over 300 feet away now.
汗をかくはずだ。こんなに移動したのか。
Strong winter gales quickly dried the sweat of his brow, but he was drenched underneath his shirt. This much sweat was worth at least half a mile run, not to mention all the scares he had experienced throughout the night.
でもよかった。あとは合図を待つだけだ。
He felt a wave of relief, but not the thought of Alko destroying the snark in the nightmarish park. He was simply happy that he could repay a bit of his debt for the House of Mirrors. Blue bullet rose from the plaza where Alka was
合図
located.
だ
Sojo stood up atop of the tracks, pulled out the pouch he had stowed in his pocket, and tossed it forward. Without any regard for his questionable footing, he gave it a mighty overarm pinch. The small pouch drew a parabolic curve in Alka's direction, quickly becoming untied in midair. Inside the bag was a lock of her hair and a small stone weight. Yeah, I mean, it did look like her hair, but it's like, what is it supposed to
高い
do?
ところから風に乗せてくれればあとは何とかするから。
Haku had said, but it was Sojo's effort that set the plan in motion. Tuft of hair remained airborne, drifting as if watching over its owner. His job was done. He remained concerned about the egg hovering over him, but there was nothing he could do about it. He breathed a sigh of relief and leaned forward to watch the rest of the plan unfold. But then,
ムム
in the corner of his eye, he thought he spotted something familiar approaching Alko. Ah, no, don't tell me that damn puppet's still alive. There's no way. Unless it was biding its time for this moment, but I don't know, I guess it could also just be Alice moving. Ooh, wonder what this spell's gonna look like. Oh, that was a cool. This is a cool sound. It sounds like the servant summoning an FGO.
ディレクト1層2層予備に3層魔力提供体現に固定循環よし射角よし術式安定大まかよし
Pattern began to carve itself into the brisk street. The casting of an unprecedented incantation with unprecedented range. Keeping the rising tension contained within her crest, the fledgling mage snapped her fingers.
決めたツアープランスターマイン
She kneeled down to center the formula and raised her head to the night sky. Not even a glimpse of a mortified fantasy land around her entered her vision now. Only one thing, one untouchable thing, was reflected in her blue eyes.
実はずっと気になっていたことが
This was how their conversation started a few minutes prior. He began with a simple statement of fact. In truth, it really was the simplest of discrepancies. Any difference between the reality of an hour ago and the illusion of the present were both infinitesimal and infinite.
雲があったから勘違いしたんだろうけど
It was hiding in plain sight. Too impossible to be real. Too outlandish to be there. This amusement park where every paradigm had shifted, something was basically flawed to its normalcy.
今夜は新月なんだ青崎
Oh.
思えば初めっからその形だったものねあんたは
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I guess. Kind of disappointed it wasn't the Ferris wheel. But yeah, this actually makes a lot more sense because she was practically talking to the fog. It's like, is that supposed to be like something that's guarding or the real spirit of what's controlling all this? But I see. Right. The distance from the Earth to the Moon was 238,900 miles. But damn, I didn't think about it. Yeah, it's like, how would you still see the moon during all this? And like, I guess it was kind of creating that illusion because Alice was sitting on the moon, on the clock tower. And I guess we kind of did see the moon a couple times in these scenes, but I didn't think anything of it. If it truly was identical to the actual moon, then this monster indeed lived up to its eerie reputation. At a distance that vast, there would have been no need to hide. It could flaunt its true form for all to see. But if it had to hide its true form, that meant it was vulnerable. The monster's camouflage amplified that it sat within the reach of human hands.
こっちの最大射程はよくて600ってところだけど
At this point, it was time to give it all she had. Drawing on the energy surging throughout the park, she extended her firing arm. Blue firework launched into the air. She looked up at her hair dancing in the wind above. Aka reached out her right hand as if to catch the night sky. Mage's own body made for a perfect catalyst. And for a female mage, the hair she had grown out over many years made for a particularly valuable and powerful source of fuel. To use it, all she had to do was apply her will. She locked the fingers on both her hands together and shouted.
三層展開全術式連結起動
She hurled forth a clear challenge to bind the moon to herself. Oh, I see. It manifested that. The mist began to whirl about in a vortex. The monster high above bore its fangs at the side of the blue spell that appeared in midair.
見抜かれたです。
By the time Alice had noticed the change, the hostility between Aoko and the Snark was palpable.
そうなら青子の勝ちよ。すぐに戻りなさい。確かに雨雲を消したのはヒントの上げすぎだけど、それぐらいは多めに見て。スナーク
The fog continued to thicken with no sign of abating. The moon that floated in the night sky could not pardon such an insolent mage. As if the Lord of the Night would bow down to such impudence, so staying its wrath at a child so flagrant.
スナーク
Yeah, because I mean, again, it's like, that's just what Snark is. Robert swooped in to give its report, but Alice waved it away. Her gaze was fixed on the transforming golden moon. The calls of restraint didn't reach it. This fairy tale monster was beholden to nobody. It had no qualms unleashing its vast might upon its puny prey. Ah, so that's what the seal on the bottle before. The core of her magic bullet howled. Magic circuits within her body spun. Like fed the magical energy scorching her nerves with imaginary flame. She was linked to the formula inscribed on the ground. The spell was read and executed at the same time as it always was. Its output was beyond reckoning. This much firepower, even this mundane process, would invite injury upon its caster. It was enough to burn up the nerves that were acting as the barrel.
でもいける
Imaginary heat had reached a terrifying temperature. I would tremble at this endless feeling, but would have to grin and bear it lest their efforts come to naught. Aoko could no longer move. She learned the Snark's true form from Sotro. She gave up on any superiority a movable turret offered, instead opted to become a stationary cannon. Yeah, because if she's moving, the firepower wouldn't be nearly as concentrated. It was the only way she could reach it. It was impossible to hunt the Snark unless she anchored her crest at this location and angle. At the same time, this action revealed that she was out of options. Once the fuse was lit, she would have no choice but to fight to the bitter end. Aiko took a deep breath. It's the way she wanted it. Preparations were complete. She'd be able to deliver this maelstrom of magical energy directly to the moon like its rocket payload. The third midair layer served as the cannon's muzzle in sight. It would fire the magical energy once it reached criticality, and it allowed Aoko to adjust the angle of fire.
きれ
The moon became wrapped within her scope, warped within her scope. As Aoko charged her magical energy, the ploy displayed its golden form as if to mock her. Come, worship the heavens, powerless scion of an innocent bloodline. There it was, a point among the otherworldly sky. Mystical visage obfuscated by jade mist and azure clouds. Called the greatest treasure known to the world of magecraft. Already more valuable than an entire kingdom. Crown Phantasm.
あれがフラットスナーク
That's a creepy face. Set apart from the first, the world's greatest fabrication.
まだ早いけど
Her instincts screamed at her to delay no further. This fairy tale monster was the greatest of its kind. It was about to expose its true form. Its open hostility made it clear that it was ready to
こ
counterattack.
っちはもう動けない逃げを捨てての大栄翔先に撃たれたらそこで終わりだ
She had to shoot it down first. Magical energy was at 80%. The formula was operating normally. All that was left was to pull the trigger, but a calm voice inside her head asked if that was really okay. She had one shot at this, and there was no going back. It was a battle of precision with no room for miscalculations. Even a tenth of a second hesitation would tip the scales. Was she ready for the pain? Was she ready to deal with the fallout if she missed? Could she really even take down the moon with such a tiny bullet in the first place?
いい。とりあえず当たった後で考える。
Her eyes fixed upon the moon were filled with determination. She knew that the moment she fired, the instant recoil would overwhelm her body. Still, she shouted.
上等。出し惜しみはなし。目いっぱいぶん回すわ。
With every ounce of spirit she possessed, she fired her ultra-long-range projectile into the sky. The third layer embraced the magic bullet fired from the surface of the Earth. The crest, an extension of Alco's self, unleashed light to pierce the moon. However, oh my... You just create a meteor? An enormous blue canopy pulverized the beam. Returned the ether, that 3,000 degree flame, to nothing as it came in contact with the bullet. The core of the Grand Magecraft literally boiled with blood. The body couldn't handle it. Her heart stopped. The brain went numb from the pain and impact. The nerves putrefied from end to end. But her magic crest would find them all by force.
氷で防がれた。
Even though her vision had gone white, she could still see it. Swallowing the blood in her mouth, Akko looked up with a scowl. There it was. An enormous shield of ice and a sneering, deformed skull.
撃つのが遅すぎた。それとも早すぎた。盾を作られる前に撃てばよかった。それとも正面からじゃ無謀すぎた。どっちでもいい。一層、二層、再起動。急いで。
There was no time to think or hesitate. The magical energy throughout the park began to gather. Akko knelt, crossing the tyrannical face of the moon. She intuited that the ice had yet to fully form. Flat Snark still hadn't reached its full strength, which was exactly why.
まずい、まずい、まずい、まずい。
By accelerating the spell, Akko damaged her own body. Burning and linking the formula to the Snark caused intense pain. What she could do was grit her teeth and endure it. All because
あの氷、私のマックスよりもっと上だ。
Akko had gotten a read on their relative strengths. Even if its volume and magical energy was identical, Snark's form, its mystic scale, was in a different league. Akko could charge her energy to absolute limit, and that would barely make it to end the ice wall. Meanwhile, there was nothing she could do to prevent her own annihilation, and the Snark gathered as much energy as it could.
ならその前に。
She loaded her next shot. She issued orders to the floating third layer. Knowing the toll on her body, she began to accelerate the first layer formula. The role of her right-hand single layer was to absorb and store surrounding magical energy. The thick fog that drifted through the park was an ancient ether spewed out by Blink Snark's own body. Akko could pour it into her formula. Akko's body, which integrated with the formula, took on an amount of magical energy that far surpassed its maximum capacity. Seethed in agony. Her average trembled in delight. For a mage, magical energy was a propellant to reach the realm of mystics. Expansion of eternal time. Liquefaction of oneself. Release from the physical. They were all what one might call near-death experience. The precipice of what lay beyond, Akko stood firm and faced reality. Still, reality had come to break her will. The gap between them was plain to any observer. The gun bearer named Akko Aozaki had not a chance to chip away at the ice.
それが。
He accelerated the spell further. The skull grinned. The ice was no shield. It was a hammer to crush mages who didn't know their place. He would laugh as they prepared to crush not just Alco, but the boy atop the roller coaster as well as the park in its entirety.
どうした？
The circuits were on the verge of going critical. Her body had been charged with a scorching power supply from her fingertips to her eyeballs. She received a bullet fired. She would arrange the main trap formula as quickly as her nerve's transmission speed will allow. A single attack wasn't enough. There's no way to shoot it from its flank, which meant there was only one solution.
Selecta! Alternate!
Third layer began to transform. It switched from direct to alternating current. The spell's supposed strong point was its ability to adjust its trajectory mid-flight. Right now, all she wanted was numbers.
Set! Octagram! 全回走！ぶん回せ！
A blue sun shined down upon the amusement park. Beams of light of maximum output streaked forth to pierce the golden moon. Holding down the trigger, she continued to fire, taking an energy infinitum. Blue flame shot forth at critical level, but ice would neither melt nor mar. What amount of sheer heat could make a dent in something born from such a colossal amount of magical energy? The torn circuits at the berserk, blood began to run free. The battle had become a tussle over the magical energy that filled the park. In the very beginning, this had been Snark's home turf. Snark had control over at least 80% of the space, while Alko had 20 at best. The Castle of Ice descended as if to call the match. All she could do was delay the inevitable. She knew that she had been backed into a wall, and right now, the only thing she could do was keep firing. Then again, perhaps not. There was another option. If she converted all her magical energy into her defense, there was a tiny chance. No, not tiny. Great possibility, in fact, that she could save just her. Creating that broken hope, Alko continued to rotate her circuits. Time seemed to stop at the magical energy overdose. A second of intense pain lasted an eternity. And amidst everything, Sylvie approached one step at a time. What? It's that thing! From the House of Mirrors. What is it doing here? Is it always just here when she's about to face death? Again, it makes me think is that the vision of death? Or I'm not even sure what you could call it. Something from among the park's shadows. Something. She felt goosebumps from head to toe. The issue was no longer the ice overhead. In the midst of the stillness, the Red Death drew closer, step by ominous step. Her circuits in her mind began to rupture out of terror. The composition of her formula and soul began to rip apart. There it was, just behind her. His footsteps came to a halt. He reached around and cupped her face in the blood-stained hands.
Konnichiwa.
She wanted to scream out with all her might. This is it. Nothing matters. I couldn't care less. Run or don't run, it doesn't matter. Quit hiding and reveal yourself. Do whatever you can and show no mercy. That was it. She had one final card to play. Once, a miracle had been gifted to her, almost as a joke. It made the ice look like child's play. That is what the Red Death had come to kill. Using it would spell ruin. Not using it would mean death by ice. Then why hesitate? There were no conditions on its use. There was no price to pay for its power. She simply would cease to be herself. Oh. What is it? Is it like a limit break of sorts? Or... That was all. Humans love to exist in areas of gray. Dozens of electrical impulses disconnect in the brain every minute. Nothing lasts forever. Not even oneself. It was not anything particularly worthy of disdain. It wasn't even anything remarkably worthy of being called taboo. But why was she scared of it, though? What escaped her lips now was rage. Bewilderment from the red silhouette. The girl let out an audible scream. Could true magic truly be her savior? What an opportunistic load of bull. After all, to begin with. Indeed, Alka was still in the dark when it came to that magic, whatever it was. I'm guessing that's what Sojiro saw, that figure in red. She woke from her momentary hallucination, the very illusion her breaking soul had shown her. Whining had the opposite effect on her. Her pride was now ablaze.
逃げるのか
Sojiro was right. Her opponent had put her in check, but she had done the same to it. It was clear what she was losing, so now all she needed was a counterplan, well within her abilities. No matter the odds, she wasn't the one to give up without giving it one last shot. Her numb fingers clenched into a tight fist. She was betting against the house, an unreasonable gamble that should have made her question her sanity. If her first step was off by an inch, her body would be instantly vaporized. But she knew a boy who never fled. She knew of a steadfast courage that could shine its light, no matter how small, through any desperate situation. Yeah, there's more than just herself to be concerned about. That ice foul would mean the destruction of the park in its entirety. Everything he achieved, everything he had risked and dared and happily put his life on the line for, would be all for naught. Oh, we're on the good stuff? Yo, what's up, Guardian? Saw you were doing an FGO stream. Hope it went well. Thanks for showing up. Did you read the collab event in FGO? I actually didn't. I would have done the collab, but since I was gonna do this story later anyway, I didn't want to spoil myself if it hinted at anything, so I didn't, unfortunately. I will try to next time it comes back, but for the meantime, probably not. Yeah, how's everything going, Divine? My bad, not Divine. Guardian. My bad. You showed something else, like a bod with like the orange text. I'm used to that being Divine, then I mix it up. My bad, Guardian.
本当それじゃあ何のために意地を張ったかわからない
Determination and confidence surged through her like electricity. She was in no mood to be crushed by a giant sheet of ice. If she was gonna lose, she'd rather do so in the grandest firework possible. Has a rerun? No, I know, but I mean, whenever it does rerun. But I guess, like you're saying, probably not. I was hoping you would have skipped and read it later. Yeah, unfortunately I didn't, so I don't really know the details of it. Was it good, though? Alka was a sore loser. At this point, she'd rather burn herself to cinders than let it decide her end. Energy raged through her body. Her circuits were on the verge of disintegration. Inscribed upon her body, her magic crest was Magecraft given physical form. It did not, however, stop with simply skin and flesh. It burrowed to the very marrow of her bones. delightful smile graced her lips. A sense of reason had turned upside down by the pain. That was only natural.
なんだ、やればできるじゃない私。
She had to praise her own body for holding out so long, while pushed beyond its limits. It was really great. It should be on YouTube somewhere. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll check it out at some point when I'm done with this. Because I'll say it right now, I am very engrossed into the story. It's really great. Skullface noticed the abnormality, finally recognized the challenge for dominance over this space. It laughed at the conceited face. Never did he expect the magician to challenge the great flat snark, lord of vessels over a millennium, and in such an age of decline. She tried to catch her breath. She braced herself for the coming pain. She was gonna smash that ice to pieces. Both had access to the same amount of magical energy. One of them was greatly outmatched, but
出力装置に差があった。魔力の吸引、方針の規模で負けているのなら、単純な話、私をでかくするだけでいい。チェンジ、ツアープラン。
feedback would go beyond anything she had experienced to date. Quite simply, her decision went beyond recklessness. She expanded both formulae to maximum size. Obviously, we say, Guardian. Anyway, having a great day. Favorite band dropped a new song. Ran an artsy lyric video. So the video was made by real people at the end. So they didn't use AI. Well, that's good. Because again, it's really starting to become hard to interpret what's like by AI and what's by actual people these days. I mean, in the music space. In art, it's become somewhat obvious to a point, but music is starting to get harder, so hey, at least you know it's like they still got the talent for it. First layer would transform into a giant vortex, swallowing up the mist. The second layer would process it from one end and pump it into her, the barrel.
私の想定が甘かった。撃ち落とすなんて半端もいいとこ。この場合、跡形もなく打ち砕くった。
Her removal power answered the spellcaster's conviction. It formed a pattern of a writhing serpent. Horse's magical power flew a banner revolution. Now look upon the earth, O venerable one. See now this pioneer, this first among trailblazers. She embodies a species that knows no fear, but is not all manner of mystic and tradition.
貸し借りはここまでよ。嘘つきブージャム。お望み通り、のしをつけて返してあげる。
For the newest magician commands the principles of consumption and extinction. And a barren bullet of light melted through the castle of ice. The barrel held fast. Her control of magical energy was divine. 100,000 miles of veins, equal to 2.5 times the circumference of the Earth, angrily drank in the magical energy. Subsequent magical strike hurtled straight to the moon. No, 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 no! Death rose from the moon's surface. A cry of indignant terror echoed through the abandoned park. Reality was burned to the eyes of this creature of fantasy. To Aoko, its vain struggle was to taste of victory. Victory despite her absolute reckless use of magical energy. The energy scales have been tipped to their breaking point, but nevertheless in her favor.
ツアープラン。ブラックライトスターボー。一気にぶち抜け！
The skyscraper shattered into atomized dust. The island, its unattainability extolled, had swallowed whole the despair of its many challengers. Long had it proudly eluded mankind's intellect. Yet now Azure misbemoaned its demise. The sky and icy canopy crumbled. The snark-hunting bullet jumped over the moon. Stories of death sound like the roaring sea reverberating across that fairy tale land. Guardian Witch of the Holy Night, outgoing to struggle to fire a beam, Melty Blood, casually firing beams everywhere. I know, it's crazy! Which game really has me hyped up, like how the hell did she transform like this? The battle was over. The thick fog dissipated and the shattered ice melted away before it hit the ground. A lethal bullet unseated the Night King from his throne, putting him no time to grieve his loss. So I'm wondering, is Sojiro actually able to see that thing in red? Like, can anyone see it? Or did he just, somehow sense it and, Aoko's normally only supposed to be the only one who sees it? Because that's what I'm trying to think about. Because I think that's also what the bird was trying to tell, Alice about, but she was busy paying attention to Flat Snark disobeying her. At least I think. The oil of the moon. The untouched. Flat Snark. The dreamscape that had begun with its resurrection ended with its demise, drawing a close to the nightmare. And we're still going. Okay, you know what? I could do a bit more.
さすがに無茶だわ。
Flying her back, Aoko looked up at the night sky. She lay there perfectly still, not able to move a single finger. When she tried, her whole body screamed out in agony. She was completely empty of magical energy, and her magic crest had come to a halt. She estimated that it would likely require a whole day to recover all her bodily functions. Sadly, all she could really do in that moment was take a breath. At least her chest was swelling with pride. She got toe-to-toe with a fairy tale monster and had emerged victorious. Yes, seriously, she beat the moon, for crying out loud. Is that not hype? It's also one of the most beautiful visual novels in recent history. Stabler working with Natsu Stuff so much they jumped right into Tsukihime Remake right after this, without really taking a break. Really? Because I mean, I definitely do remember the Tsukihime Remake was taken right after they did the Melty Blood remake, but still. But not Melty Blood, which is the Holy Night remake. Well, I guess this isn't necessarily a remake, but just an updated version, I guess. But still, now it really has me curious to play Tsukihime Remake when the time comes. But, again, I have to deal with this first, and, again, either get a capture card, or wait until they actually make Tsukihime Remake available on PC. Which I would kind of hope, because I feel like that'd be easier for... Well, then again, I guess I would need a capture card if I'm ever going to play Switch games on the PC, or on stream, so... Again, kind of have to think between two things. But that's beside the point. Still, that fight was hype. What the hell? And this is a visual novel. I definitely want this animated. By the way, Guardian, I want to ask you about this, because maybe you know a bit more about it. Was the stuff that they were talking about, on November 20th, I think, is it like they're doing a movie, or are they doing an anime of the series? Or were they talking about something else different that I just didn't actually check or do info finding about? Because I'm kind of curious as to what it would be. As a movie, I feel like you'd have to do it in parts, because, to be fair, there's a lot going on here. The battlefield conditions had favored her. It was true. But there was no denying that Aoko had come a long way in the last 6 months.
それはそれとしてアリスには謝っとかないと。プロイって壊したらそれっきりだものね。
Ah, I see. Did I mention that the movie for this is coming this year? Oh, no. I think, I actually saw it on YouTube. There was like a small video about it. I saw it was visuals of Witch of the Holy Night. It seemed more like a teaser to me rather than an actual trailer. and then it showed the date 11/20, and I'm like, oh, is that a movie possibly or something? So I've been meaning to actually check out like what that was about, but I didn't actually get to do it in the end because I basically forgot it. I think it's gonna be in parts because they only showed scenes from this part. They didn't show anything from like. Okay, good, good. Because like I said, to be fair, I'm still at the beginning of this story. I'm still not like at a where things really come into play, right? Like how Awazaki gets the red hair, her mastering of her abilities, what happens after this, and I don't even know if like at the end it shows us how she meets Shiki, because I only know that from the Tsukihime remake opening I saw on YouTube. But aside from that, it's like I don't know anything. But it's like I don't know if that last bit is gonna actually take place in this at the end, or if it's just gonna be a random thing and it's like that's just something that takes place that you'll learn about in Tsukihime remake. But again, so a lot of stuff that's like I feel like it has a lot of context and you'd have to go through a lot of the story, and there's no way you'd be able to make it into one movie. I'm sorry, but it's like look, there has to be good quality for this because it is a really great story. And if you're gonna animate this, you gotta animate all the best scenes because so far I'm loving it. It's hype. The House of Mirrors was a great part of the story, and now this one, my god, I did not know visual novels could go this hard. Seriously, Punishing Gray Raven, take some notes. You guys could do at least a bit of this in your game, considering you guys are kind of a visual novel-esque game. I feel like it'd really help to expand on their storytelling a bit more like this. I'm not saying all scenes, but at least a couple more of the action scenes we go through where like the commandant's running or we're kind of battling while trying to make our way to somewhere or the core or the boss. I feel like if they did a bit of like what they do here in Punch and Gray Raven, people would definitely be talking about it a lot more gameplay wise. I'm just saying. But still, awesome. That's only in Tsukihime. Doesn't take place in that. Ah, okay. I was just curious if it does. It doesn't matter to me because again, Tsukihime is its own thing. Even though this is like the prequel to it in a way, but still, it doesn't bother me that much. I was just curious. But still, once it's gone forever. Yeah, because I mean, it wouldn't have anything else to reside in anymore, right? Because she kept it in a bottle as if like it sealed it. So fair. Flat Snark would never again return to this world. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that is a pretty crazy ace in the hole, you know? Like, losing something like that to be your trump card, that would definitely hurt any mage. But I mean, to be fair, it wasn't really listening to Alice at the end, so who knows? Don't think PGR could afford to do this. The visual novel has 15,000 sprites. 15,000 sprites? That's how many? Okay, yeah, maybe not. Like I said, it doesn't need the whole thing, but if they could at least do a bit of it, and at least kind of going forward, at least for main story, I'm not saying they need this for floating record, but at the very least for main story, at least once in a while, especially for the most hype chapters, I could get with it. But yeah, like you said, it would be too much. It's Alice's NP and FGO. Oh, is it? I haven't actually had the chance to use Alice in FGO from like friend support. I tested other people's Alco, but not Alice. Not because I don't want to, but just because I don't know. I didn't really know much about her. It was an insanely rare item, so valuable that it would have been impossible to price it for auction at the association in London. I could have sent Alice's priceless treasure to oblivion. Needless to say, things had gotten a little more than out of hand.
まあ
They had both agreed to the fight, so Alice would probably not complain. Even if she was fierce, she would never be so undignified as to show it. The second Alco relaxed, her fatigue had finally caught up with her. She did everything in her power to fight off the overwhelming drowsiness. Aside from a few minor internal injuries, her body was miraculously unscathed. But like she could probably stand up and dust herself off after a bit of rest. Guardian, I have Alice, but I need to beat Lost Belt 7 before I put her up, so I can farm out her mats. Oh, I see. So let me guess. Her mats are locked behind are they locked behind Lost Belt 7? Like they're only in areas that you can get from there? Can you not get it from the exchange shop for materials? Cuz I needed materials for Saddam the Beast in a FGO for the Beast Servant, the one that looks like Nero, and I just got her resources from the exchange shop because I haven't beat Lost Belt 7 yet either. Because I don't know, I just never got around to it. I probably should at some point, but to be fair, that probably took a very long time. And I have too many other gacha games I need to worry about. But can you not get it from there? The golden moon continued to burn the night
正
sky.
体は油だものね。そりゃいつまでも燃え。
Aga's bleary eyes went wide in astonishment. She was still unable to lift a finger.
か。スナークを見つけたベイカーも最後は一緒に消えるんだっけ。
Her man said those purple knives that are in Lost Belt 7. It took 100. She needs more than 100. Oh! Wait. Damn! It's over 100? Oh, okay. So is it like limited supply? Does it not replenish? I mean, I don't know if it replenishes. I'm asking. Or actually, let me just check my FGO account right now. Ah, damn, I had to update the game. Damn it. Alright, I'm gonna just continue the story and then I'll check again on my phone in a bit once it's updated. Ah, boy, what the hell is this now? She signed resignation. I could accept that her final stand left her with only 10 seconds before she'd be burned to ash. Oh, so it's like, I die, you die with me. You should also work on it because next year they have the 1K St. Quartz reward for being caught up. That's why I'm pushing so hard. Wait, that's for next year? Shit, I gotta get on that. Yeah, they don't refresh until they give us a ticket to refresh. Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Because I didn't know about that part. Because like I said, I hadn't played FGO that much to like get back to like what are the recent like stuff that they did and everything. But okay. Damn. But damn, next year. Okay. Shit. And by caught up, does that just mean beating Lost Belt 7? Because I think if I remember correctly, there's Lost Belt 7 and then there's other stuff after, right? Is it called Lost Origin or something? I don't remember what it's called, but there's supposedly supposed to be stuff after you beat Lost Belt 7. Like, there's still more, obviously, for main story, right? If I'm remembering correctly. So it's like, what's the context of being all caught up next year to get those 1,000 St. Chords? Is what I'm asking. Oh, I see. They brought a Arcade back for this new. Oh, so that's why it updated. That's next anniversary to the end of 2027. So you get 6 months after July to get caught up. I get that. And get that. That's no ordeal called. Oh, okay. So you had to get caught up to or. Oh, that's what I put in. Oh, I see. So that's why Arcade's back. I was like, I don't think her event thing is gonna come back, right? But I see. Ordeal called 3. Bellum Novae Humanitatis. Sorry for my mispronunciation if I did mispronounce it. But shut up, I'm doing my best, okay? I see. Ordeal called 3. Ordeal called 3 or 4. I see. Fair, fair. I mean, I'm at least trying to grind a bit to try to get CL in FGO. If not, then it's like, it's whatever. But at least I got 2 of the things I needed. Like, I did get like I said, I got Saddam Beasts. And, what is it? I also got a Space Ereshkigal. So, at least I'm kind of good for that. Elsewhere, just a short moment prior. Yes, Saddam's Beast Draco. That was the beast. Buffeted by strong winds atop a roller coaster, Sojiro gravely peered down at the ground.
Mumu?
I pulled MP2 CL, so I'm super. Nice. Hopefully I can at least get ACL before the ban is done. But yeah, so at least I have 2 beasts. So that's at least good enough. But again, I'll hopefully try to get CL, but we'll see what happens. All I could muster was a single murmur. You can see Alco on top of some drawing on the ground, and in the distance, there was something familiar in the direction of the ruined House of Mirrors. Sojour's job to throw Alco's hair from a great height was complete. While not the most impressive of tasks, it was absolutely a matter of life and death. Or death. Why do I keep saying and? And to top it all off, just thinking about how he was going to get back down to the ground was making him dizzy. Experienced more than enough trouble for one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, the egg's still here? Wait, what? He was flustered as he stood atop the swaying bridge. Oh, okay, no, now we're just seeing his perspective. I'm saving for next anniversary? Gotcha. Skull suddenly appeared in the sky above. On the ground, you can see a circling blue light with Alco Aozaki in the middle of it. And one more thing. From an angle that only Sojo could see, a shadow stalked Alco while she challenged the moon. Oh no, it is. What is this thing still doing? How is this thing still alive? We're shaped like a person missing the lower half of its body. Like, I mean, I know we saw its eye move, but dude, you had a whole building on you! 3 floors! What do you mean you're still alive? You son of a bitch! This thing can't just fucking take a break. Shaped like a... Oh no, I said that. The disembodied torso slowly clawed its way toward Alco. They were still over 600 feet apart. Yeah, because I was wondering, it's like, that's what I thought he saw. And probably what the bird actually saw. Unfortunately for Alco, she had completely failed to notice they approaching from behind. He was sure of what it was now. There was only one thing in the park that could chase Alco and not him. The puppet. He's like, please tell me I'm mistaken. Please tell me this isn't what I think it is. Please tell me this nightmare still isn't over yet. His mind ran in circles. It was a perfectly reasonable reaction. Any grip on reality he might have had left was long lost when Alco started firing beams of light at the monster's moon. Alco's merciless fire buffeted the roller coaster like a storm. Just standing on it was almost enough for him to be thrown off and killed. At any rate, Sojo couldn't fathom the situation. Should he head back to the entrance of the roller coaster and warn Alco about the incoming threat? No, there was no way he would make it in time, and to make matters worse, there was a horde of bread down there waiting for him. Yeah, because I was gonna say, it's like, I don't think he could make it. Even with how fast he is, he wouldn't be able to get all the way down there, and with all those bread men, and on top of a roller coaster. It might very well have been the case that Alco was already aware the puppet would take it out as soon as it got closer. If she was, Sojo was sure she would only be in the way. It didn't seem like there was anything he could do to help. Beyond that, Alco wasn't the only one in danger. He was in quite the predicament himself. Can't go home again. The road home was never as safe as one thought. It was as true here as it had been on the mountains. The path he was on was no exception. As risky as the ascent had been, it was even more dangerous to go back down. There's no time to be worrying about others. Shaking legs reminded him that only 200 feet separated him from death. His head was pounding. He was reckless and stupid. Having been raised in the mountains, he was more sensitive to danger than anyone raised in the city. Just thinking about what he was about to do made his throat seize up. There's only one thing he could say for sure. Oh, is he gonna jump? Never mind. With a sobbing shout, Sojo started making his way down the 200-foot frame of roller coaster. Dude, badass. Don't roll more perks and get that. His race toward death accelerated. He never meant to speed up, but the downward slope propelled him forward. Come on, dude. You gotta be the MVP. It's too late for regrets. Now he was running, he had no choice but to go even faster. Well, I mean, to be fair, regardless, Alka's the MVP, but at least he can get MVP votes. The time was not on his side. Never make it in time if you took a long way down, never mind the Redman crowning the exit of the roller coaster. With the exit blocked, the outcome would be the same whether he went down slowly or quickly. There's no reason to rush to his death as desperately as he did. So what if it was futile? Sojiro cleared the doubts from his mind. He turned his attention to what he could do, keeping his footing and tried to arrive at the bottom as quickly as he could.
間違えるな。今大事なのは間に合うとか助けられるとかそういう結果の話じゃなくて。
He had no idea what impulses were driving his stiff limbs. He just focused on the moment, pushing past the fear and cold logic. He is the country Chad. You get him a vacation shop later. Oh, okay, cool. There'll be time to think about the consequences later. Ah, shit, the stupid egg! His hesitation was not only his only obstacle. The worst possible hindrance appeared at a time when not focusing on a track that would mean certain death. Oh, fucking hell. Sojiro sensed something wrong with the egg he'd been so studiously observing out of one eye. Something had changed. The very moment he realized it.
よそ見してる場合じゃない。
Sorry about that. I was just checking something. Sojiro stumbled, then instinctively caught himself. It was a miracle he hadn't fallen. Descending a roller coaster on foot was an act of suicide. The egg stayed right by his side, so close it was likely it would collide with him. They were trying not to look at it. He couldn't help but feel unease as that door-like decoration in the center was gradually opening. He cursed his rotten situation, yet he refused to slow down. Ran even faster, glaring at the egg on his side. I'll be honest, I don't know how the fuck he's doing this, but I have to give mad respect to this dude. Like, he's running down a roller coaster while trying to warn about a giant mechanical puppet still trying to kill someone he'd call a colleague while staring at an egg to his side. That's a ticking time bomb. Like, my god. Also, I'm ready to get Bianca Crep's school summer skin and PGR. Just Archer's Artoria's outfit with a shirt. Huh. Didn't think about that. Have to check. He was baffled to find that he was smiling. That had something to do with Alka's charm. Sojiro couldn't tell one way or the other. He could definitely Alka's fingers on his skin. The trust and expectation she had placed on him was etched into his heart. What spurred him on was something entirely different. This all stemmed from a much deeper problem. Something inside him that he couldn't understand at the time but would eventually come to terms with one day. He carefully judged the distance as he ran down the track of death. But the distance between what? That went without saying. The distance between himself and the one thing that could save his life. He told himself he was gonna do it over and over like a mantra. Sojiro couldn't believe himself. What he was about to do was incredibly stupid. But what is stupid when smart isn't an option? Wait. Is he gonna launch himself by using the egg's explosion? Don't tell me that's what he's gonna do! This is all. He laughed at how pointless such self-reflection was now. Temporary confusion, a psychological trail ride, both had laid his soul bare. What really mattered in life? The answer to that question was simple. His primitive values did not crave success or reward. All he wanted was to live the way he wanted. It wasn't an obligation to the people around him. His desire to live his way was his and his alone. If the egg had been equipped with a vocal function, it would have gasped in shock at what happened next. Boy only tried to escape up until this point, suddenly shifted his weight. He pointed his feet outward instead of inward. At the edge of one rail, he crashed over it ever so slightly to maintain momentum. Here's the floating egg. Or is he gonna try to jump, catch the egg, and throw it? Shit, he actually did jump! He soared through the night sky, oh my god! It was a fight that lasted a mere 1.5 seconds. A cordless bungee jump from 100 feet above ground. His destination? The only thing that would stop his fall, the giant floating egg. Oh my god, what a Chad! He's gonna ride it down. He shrieked, this time out of elation, as he desperately clung to the egg's surface. Just earlier, the cold-blooded witch had told him that without fear, the top of a building would feel no different than a balance beam. This from the same witch that would have been left speechless had she witnessed the spectacle. It was one thing to be fearless, and another to be reckless. What the boy did next would give her a headache in the days to come. Clinging to the egg, he shifted his gaze away from it. He felt the rapid descent. Oh, because it would have to fall down. I see. Country chat. Seriously. Soldier, focusing his half-shut eyes on the ground, leaped off the egg once they were a few feet away in the ground and turned back to it, giving it a re-established eye contact. Something so unbelievable that a soldier. The elevator at the department store and the mysterious floating egg were both just moving objects, virtually indistinguishable from one another. Oh my god, so he rode that thing like an elevator, and it's then gonna bring it to the puppet, so that when it's time to blow up, it's gonna blow up the puppet. But will he be able to get enough distance from it? We don't know how big of an explosion this is gonna be. And yet this whole battle's going on. Seriously, this has to be an anime. I mean, hey, I'll take a movie, because hopefully that means they'll take enough time to actually really execute these scenes. He landed near the plaza. The shortcut that almost cost him his life has paid off. Soldier took off running the second his feet touched the ground. The puppet after Alco was the only thing on his mind. He paid no mind to the moonlight in the sky. Oh shit. It's going apart like one of those blocks. Nor the egg, which was furious about being used and seconds away from self-destructing and blasting fragments all over the place.
Nanu?
Alco's dumbfounded expression spurred Soldier on. Wait, what? Wait, is this happening after the fight, or what? The curse was complete, and the egg began to sing its warnings to let them know there was no escape. Shrouded from the egg exploded to the air. The ode to Queen Alice that Alice had engraved into Dumpty quickly robbed him of his senses. He stepped back to the task at hand and ran to Alco, still lying on the ground. It's like Moon said they had a mind of their own. That we could have stopped them anyway, since he can no longer feel them. This is insane. Damn. This scene will be so hype in a movie. Okay, well, he didn't use it exactly like I thought he would, and I guess it makes sense because he didn't know how much time he had left. But okay, he used the egg as an elevator to get down, so then he doesn't have to go through all the bread men. And then regardless, that thing was going to attack the vicinity around Alco. He would get her to he would be able to pick her up and escape with her, and the puppet who was near her would be the one taking the brunt of the attack. I see. I mean, it's not the plan I envisioned, but still, give it up to the country Chad, man. My god. He's a fucking G. I want him on my side. Like, what the hell, dude? If I ever get stuck in a haunted house or something, I'm bringing Sojiro with me. It'll be my only way of surviving the night. The scrambled murder case. Piles of rubble became flowers of light blooming from the earth. Damn. Guardian UFO tables are still pretty good, even if they are wonky adaptations of the source material, so the movie will at least look amazing. True. The final curtain drew closed, and the defeated left the battleground. Had Alice Koonji seen it happen, she would have been beside herself. She would escape by a hair's breadth. Is this puppet finally dead? The only person in a position to witness that rare mutual destruction was the girl who had been saved from it. The boy had never stopped running, paid it no mind.
死ぬかと思った。
The safety of the girl in his arms meant infinitely more to him than the miraculous way in which he saved her. Yeah, but it's like, didn't something go onto him, right? Because I saw a purple haze behind them, but I don't know if that was a curse or what. Whatever. Cardi, his class is Berserker because his logic is so weird. He just accepts that magic is real because this is the city. No, I mean, to be fair, Berserker would actually fit him because he does just kind of act before he even thinks anyway. And to be fair, he does have the instincts for danger. The moon did not wait for dawn to set. The ornamental texture of the fairy tale kingdom faded away. All the illusions returned to the way they were before. For the ostentatious chords reverberating through the streets, the puppets welcoming their guests. Peace and quiet reigned once more over a forgotten kingdom, never to be awakened again. Out flickered the embers of a late-night dream, even the electric lamps that illuminated the park. Together they watched it disappear. Sojiro lay on the ground, desperately gasping for air like a fish out of water. Because the exploding egg had numbed his pain, he was understandably exhausted after all he experienced. It looked like he could have been blown away by the lightest of breezes. Alako was also exhausted. She was still in better shape. Focused on taking deep, even breaths, she was already working to recover his strength.
あのさ、
She addressed Sojiro indifferently as her gaze remained on the amusement park. The abruptness of it was a bit theatrical in nature. She wanted to look at him as she spoke, but her pride was simply too great. Of course.
あなた、なんかすごいことしなかった？
I mean, at least she notices it. The moment she had accepted death seemed like an eternity. She was beside herself in shock at how indifferent she had been as the shards rained down upon her from the moon. The reassuring voice had snapped her back into reality. Why did he do it? What was he thinking? What moronic things had he done to pull it off? She had no answers for these questions, lying on the ground as she was. All she knew was that he had more than made up for his failure in the House of Mirrors and then some, in those fateful final moments. She addressed him, hoping to find answers, but found herself unable to probe any further. To dig any deeper would feel like defeat, which is why it was so unlike her to ask him in the first place. Lucky for her, Sojiro had neither the capacity nor sensitivity to understand how egocentric she was being.
すごいって、それは青崎の方だろ。
Seriously, she defeated the fucking moon. What can you say about that? He stuttered between labored breaths. It was taking him so much just to breathe that he could not address her properly. She watched him out of the corner of her eye. Thinking back on it, the boy had performed the same role each time. Each and every time he did what he could in spite of his fecklessness. It was far more admirable than her nearly suicidal tactics, even if she did defeat her opponent. He didn't even recognize how extraordinary his act of courage was.
提案、あいつをやっつけるのに協力したら、俺のことは見逃してくれる？
Ah, at the very least, he had the courage to keep trying whatever he could. I mean, to be fair, he did keep his promise now, right? Because it was still alive, so the contract still continues. And he did complete it this time, so... Does that mean he gets a pass? Well, I guess we'll see. Because again, I guess we have to see what Alice decides. A spectator might have viewed him as a supporting actor. His actions weren't exactly memorable. But the lead actress he supported did not see it that way.
まあね。
I mean, to be fair, he was the support she needed, because that's the thing. It's like when you try to think things through too much, if everything fails, you just give up because logic is all your basing everything on, right? And if logic fails, you just accept it. But him, just thinking on instinct and emotion, is kind of bringing that different. Not too much emotion, but at least enough to be like, oh, this kind of like basic feeling. Why should I have to give up like that either if he's still doing it and he doesn't have logic on his side?
認めたくないし、口になんてもっとしたくないけど。
Such inspired actions were wasted in a supporting role. This guy really pulled off the impossible. It was so amazing that she wanted to shout it as loud as she possibly could for all the world to hear.
青崎、
ほんと、人畜無害のどうすぎると侮れないわ。
All Haku could do was sigh. How could she not? Even she was forced to admit that the way he'd snatched her from the jaws of death was dashing.
評価、甘めだけど。
Truth be told, he was a lunatic for doing what he just did. She steadied her breathing and composed herself. While she was in bad shape, she still had her pride as a mage to consider. That was why she felt the need to maintain an air of dignity.
しずきくん、見逃すのは今日だけって話だったけど、あれ、なしでいいわ。とりあえず、命は助けてあげるから。
She hastily extended her right hand. It was either to shake his or to help him up. However, Sojo didn't take her hand but instead stood up on his own. This night, despite the sheer insanity that he had experienced, his face had not once looked as incredulous as it did now.
何そのリアクションは。
She stammered, worrying that she had deeply embarrassed herself. Sojo's gaze was fixed upon Aoko. A problem had dawned on Aoko. Though she normally hated being stared at this time, she did not mind. Rather, she was enjoying the warmth in his eyes and felt like it was something she could almost come to appreciate. Oh, right. Shit, I never did a Tobimaro voice. Don't you get it? This isn't just about friendship. I didn't mean he only likes you, either. Believe me when I say that Sonoji really... Conversation came rushing back. It was a memory better left forgotten.
いかん、それは違う。
Come on. Come on. Pushing Tomoe's words out of her mind, Aoko turned to Sojiro.
それとこれは別だから。私はあんたのこととか、ほんとどうでもいいんだから。
Puzzled, Sojiro tilted his head.
さっき嫌いだって言われたけど。
He responded matter-of-factly to her sudden declaration. She certainly had pointed that out, and to his face no less. It had a mere figure of speech that he was not meant to take literally. But now was not the time to belabor that point.
そうじゃなくて、あなたが私に惚れてても期待しないでって言ってるの。
Yeah, belabor she did anyway. Hako blushed slightly, realizing how inane she was being. She wondered how she ended up in this position. Yet she knew that she had to get this off her chest. All that was left was to politely wait for his response. I can't date you. Such heartbreakingly painful words were too much for the simple boy to hear. His shoulders slumped as if the world was coming to an end. Or so Hako had imagined. On the contrary, Sojiro was sitting there in deep thought.
俺が青崎に惚れてるって？
He remembered the words as if they were a magical spell. Shot right back with an affirmative. After a moment of deep contemplation, the boy turned to the expectant girl and said,
なんで？
Yeah. I mean, look, to be fair, it's not his fault. To be fair, and I'm being completely honest, it's not his fault. Everything else was just an assumption everyone else had made. No, he did not say that. He did not say he was in love. He did say something, but it was not the equivalent of that. Oh, she's definitely gonna beat up Tobimaro to school tomorrow. She's gonna stuff him in a locker, then throw that locker like far away like a javelin throw. He had to be joking. But he was not. He was completely serious. He liked her, but he didn't like her? Of course, the vice president had jumped to conclusions. The boy had no interest in romance. He probably didn't even know what that was. She was incredibly embarrassed by how confused Sojiro still appeared to be. Her rosy complexion spread throughout her entire body.
もう一度聞くけど、なんで
Oh, is she maybe thinking that maybe she is instead? Possibly?
そりゃこっちが聞きたい
That's how we need to end it.
飛び丸の大バカ野郎
Oh boy. Just like that, she lost her cool and given in to an unjustifiable outburst. I mean, to be fair, she was gonna punch him eventually, alright? With how many times they go with their back and forth, it was gonna happen. It's time to seal off the area and destroy all the evidence. Huga's embarrassment evolved into sheer panic, and her grudge against Tobimaro suddenly manifested as criminal assault. Oh boy, yeah, he better not come to school tomorrow. She lashed out with a punch that could have taken down a bird mid-flight, but specifically, it was a brutal right hook. Ooh, a classic. She blinked. A blow had connected with something solid, snapping her out of her reverie. The temper had lashed out at the completely defenseless Sojiro. It had been a splendid blow with all her weight behind it, knocking him out cold. He'll be fine. Just leave him here. He'll probably think it was all a fantastical dream anyway. He groaned, crumbling to the ground. Her punch finished the job that the curse had started. If not for the discomfort on his face, he appeared almost to be sleeping. She convinced herself that he was napping, not concussed.
いっか予定通りになったものね
Yep. The tension in her shoulders eased away as she looked down at Sojiro. A ton had gone in her way over the course of today, but the day was saved. For now. Nobody left to butt head, she felt exhaustion finally overtake her.
うわ歩いて帰れるかな私
Again, still saying, haven't really dealt with Alice yet. Fatigue was enough to make her complain out loud. When she thought about it, she realized that this was the first time she used up all her magical energy, and for the first time she had participated in a battle at this scale without any prior preparation. No, in truth,
私一人じゃどっちも相打ちだったっけ
she felt somewhat proud as she whispered those words. Normally it was something that she would beat herself up over, but instead, she simply shrugged her shoulders with a bitter smile. After all, it was thanks to the person sleeping by her side.
ね聞こえてないわよね
As if the knife swallowed her voice before it reached them, she received no response. Confident, she continued in an even quieter voice.
そのありがとう十分に助けてもらったわ
Of course, there was no response from Sojiro, and she wasn't expecting one. Saying it for the record was enough. Miko watched Sojiro sleep for a while, then pulled something out of her pocket. It was a palm-sized glass bottle her roommate had given her. She opened it with a
で
palm.
もそれとこれとは別だから
Even behind words colder than a winter chill at night, she called out his name. She barely sensed the bottle moving. As the silhouette of a fallen boy appeared to blur, she got the feeling that the weight of the bottle had increased slightly.
うわどうなってんだろうこれ
What appeared to be a human form could clearly be seen inside the glass. Asukawaji's tools were mystics that confounded even the most knowledgeable of mages. As soon as Ako tried to analyze them with logic or reason, she was already out of her depth. Knowing this all too well, Ako closed the bottle and watched the boy disappear, as if by some magic trick.
まったくこんなの手品じゃなくて魔法だって
She muttered as she looked into the magical bottle. Its weight had not changed significantly, and she had no idea how it worked. But the one thing she did know is that there was a human being inside of it. Its light weight was almost unnerving. Close to empty air than a human being. It was about as heavy as one would expect it if they bottled up a summer breeze. Though that did fit her image of Sojiro perfectly.
アリスの言う通り
She might have no one in particular she recalled the past.
ほんと私らしくない。
She wore a bittersweet smile. Her usual moodiness was gone. It was a dangerous world out there. It's good to have someone to keep her on her toes. With a wry chuckle, she flicked the magical bottle with her finger and set off walking. She could hear a bell in the distance signaling the end of the play. An ephemeral dream gave way to reality. In the grand scheme of things, it had been but an instant. As the actors exited stage left, the last of the lights soundly flickered out. So, the long dead amusement park played its final role as a memory for a boy and a girl. Part 2 scenarios. Phew! Okay. Like a dog. Oh boy, what's this gonna entail now? Alright. We actually completed all of part 2 in one stream. Well, I mean, to be fair, this didn't necessarily have to take as long for part. If anything, part 1 was almost as equal as part 2, now that I think about it. Because this stream was like 2 hours ish. This one was like an hour and a half. Or no, an hour 15 almost. And then this one, it's like 3.5 hours, so honestly not that bad. Well, at least at my pace. To be fair, I did take a couple pauses here and there, so yeah. But overall, that was pretty peak story. I'm not gonna lie. It was awesome. I did like the storytelling for the puppet was one thing, but oh my god, this whole thing with the amusement park and all that, the effects, the lighting, the music, awesome. I can't wait to see it in theaters. Like, my god, this looks too good. Seriously. Again, I do hope it actually is like they're gonna do it in parts, because like I said, this is supposedly supposed to be like a long story. There's a lot we have to flesh out, and this still feels just like the beginning to me. To me anyway. Because again, we still we're kind of establishing some of the characters and what their roles are kind of gonna be. But yeah, now the question is, what is Sojo's fate now? Like, he sailed up in the bottle, but what exactly do we do with that? Is he just gonna be erased from school records? You're gonna make everyone forget who he is? Or you're just gonna say he moved away? What exactly is gonna be the process here going forward? And again, would Alice accept? Well, then again, I guess Alice did give Alco the alternative to use the bottle, and since she did it, she still did complete the contract, so it's like they're still fine, I guess. But to be fair, they did have to erase the evidence. But we never got to see the puppet master, though, unfortunately. Kind of disappointing, but hey, it was still an amazing part 1 and part 2, so I'm not upset by it in any measure. But goddamn, that was a lot more lines that I had to read than I thought. I might not do Punishing Gray. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, this would have been even worse for me because normally I just only doing my own narrating voice for this game, but in a PGR I at least attempt to do voices. So that's gonna be even more harder for me. So maybe I won't stream it tonight, or maybe I'll make it a shorter stream. I don't know. That's something I have to figure out. But anyway, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will still be tomorrow. Don't y'all worry. That's still gonna happen. And like I said, I'll try to find another day to do a what's it called? A Honkai Star Rail stream next week so we can try to catch up a bit more with the Himiko story and get closer to doing the collab story. I know I'm taking fucking forever, but look, I have a job, okay? It's kind of hard for me to actually find a lot of time to do it, especially when I'm not exhausted. But still, like I said, great story. I'm honestly really enjoying it a lot more than I thought. Because, like I said, I didn't have like a bad uh, thought into going into visual novels. Like I said, I at least seen a couple, but it wasn't necessarily one that supposedly has like action scenes or describes action scenes, but I have to say they are doing a swell good of a job on this so far. I'm really liking it. So it's like when we see other mages actually battle in this later, because I'm assuming that's gonna be the case, I know it's gonna be awesome, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Because like I said, I actually do like doing this series. I'm glad I can at least do it last night, and I got to continue today because it definitely was worth it. But also, can we get a shout out for the country Chad, Sojiro Suzuki, my dog? Dude came in the clutch over and over again. Even though the thing with the House of Mirrors was almost a failure, he did come in clutch with the fire extinguisher. And then those other times, pretty cool. And to be fair, I get where they're trying to go with this because him not really knowing too much about this, it can calm Alko's nerves when she's explaining all of it because then she's not focusing on the immediate danger. So I do kind of like the kind of thing they're having with those two interacting. But again, I wonder how that's gonna go moving forward with this. But anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy the stream for tonight or for today. My bad. I'm so used to streaming at the night because, like I said, I honestly really enjoyed it. And let me give a huge shout out to everyone who showed up to the stream. So shout out to both Mousezon and Guardian Soulblade for both showing up to the stream. Great chatting with you both, by the way. Like I said, Saturday will still be the same. Try to do Star Rail sometime next week. Still try to what's it called? Try to do Tales of Berseria on Wednesday instead of Monday, because again I work on Monday again. So hopefully I'll try to do something with that, and hopefully I can do it. Okay, I'm not. Actually, no, we're having the update for Wuthering Waves next week, right? So actually, I'll probably have to make time for that instead. Shit. And actually, now that I think about it, fuck. In a couple days or so, we have the Punching Gray Raven update. Damn it! This is really starting to become tough on me now, because like with me working at least like 4 days a week and a lot of at least like 7 hours a day, it's like that's annoying. But again, I'll try to figure that stuff out on my end. Hopefully you guys will be on the lookout for those. But anyway, if you guys did enjoy the stream but already found the channel, please make sure to leave a follow. Much appreciated. Check out my YouTube channel. I posted a VOD. Subscribe as well. Links to that and all my other socials are on the channel. But this has been Xander's Voice. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night or day. I'll see you guys next time. We're out.